Please be seated. Good afternoon, and thank you for attending this budget meeting in the City Hall Council Chamber. Please note that the meeting is being live streamed on the Council's YouTube channel. I welcome members of the press and public who may be viewing this meeting remotely. As this is a budget council, a recorded vote will be taken on the budget proposals and on any amendments proposed. We now move forward into the formal business of the meeting. Can we take the notice convening the meeting as read? Do we have any apologies for absence?
Yes, Mr Mayor, we have apologies from councillors Eyre, Butler, Chapman, Graham King, Mason Gage, M Heron, McKinley, F Miller, G Miller, Newey, Samuels, Scanlon, M Walker, Watson, Wilson and Wood. And councillors Laws, David Snowden and Ty have advised that they may be late to the meeting. We also have apologies from Aldermen Farthing, Forbes and Tate.
Are there any further apologies? Councillor Edgeworth.
Thanks, Niall Hudson's running late.
Are there any more? No, okay, fine. The next item is the minutes of the last ordinary meeting of the Council held on the 28th of January 2026. Can we agree the minutes? Members are reminded that dispensations have been granted to all those members who have applied for them in order to deal with matters relating to the budget and setting the council tax. Declarations of interest we have received prior to the meeting are displayed at the entrance of the chamber. If anyone has anything further to declare, they can indicate accordingly. There are no announcements this afternoon. I'd like to thank
Mr. Mayor, sorry, I had my hand up.
Oh, apologies, Councillor.
I know you weren't rid of me, but I'm not gone yet. I work for a charity who's in receipt of UK FPS money granted by the council. Just to put that on record.
Thank you very much, Councillor. That's noted. Does anyone else wish to speak? Thank you very much. There are no announcements this afternoon. I'd like to thank those members who have given notice of their wish to speak. If any member who hasn't given prior notice wishes to speak at any point during the meeting, they should please raise their hand and to indicate and speak when invited to do so. I now call upon the leader to move the approval and adoption of the report of the Cabinet.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I formally move.
Deputy Leader, do you second the report?
I second the report, Mr Mayor.
Leader, if you would like to speak to the Cabinet report.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, I'm pleased to formally move the Revenue Budget and Capital Programme for 26-27. This year's proposals continue our commitment to invest in Sunderland's future, protect our most vulnerable residents and maintain strong financial management in the face of national pressures. Mr Mayor, just touching on the national picture for a moment, this settlement from the government is the first multiple-year settlement for local government in over 10 years and is a manifesto commitment delivered by the government and is the first substantial down payment on ending Conservative austerity. After 14 years of cuts that hollowed out local government, we are turning the page and investing in renewal. Restoring pride and opportunity, our mission is to revive high streets, strengthen local jobs and skills and restore trust in local government. Getting back what has been lost. Councils will have more resources available to invest in services that matter to local residents, such as youth services, clean streets and community hubs. Mr Mayor, it is no secret that the fair funding settlement process has been a bit of a roller coaster for Sunderland. In December, the picture wasn't rosy, and to say we or I were disappointed was an understatement. Mr Mayor, as I detailed in an answer to a public question at the last ordinary meeting, myself and Cabinet colleagues and leaders of councils across the country stepped up our lobbying efforts to ensure that government understood the real impact of what the provisional settlement would have on cities like Sunderland if it wasn't changed. I'm delighted to report to Council that the government listened to our calls and brought forward proposals in the final settlement in February that significantly improved our position. I would like to place on record my thanks and appreciation to council officers for all their help and support with the technical detail that aided our lobbying, but also to our 3 MPs who stood side by side and shoulder to shoulder with me and others in ensuring we won additional resources for the city. I'd also like to place on record my thanks and appreciation to Sir Steve Horton, Leader of Barnsley Council and Chair of Sagoma, Councillor John Merry, Deputy Mayor of Salford and Chair of Key Cities, and Councillor Bev Craig, Leader of Manchester City Council and Leader of the LGA Labour Group, for all their help and support, not just for Sunderland, but for the sector. Having the backing of those organisations really did strengthen our argument with government and helped us improve our position. As a result of ours and others lobbying, Mr Mayor, the government provided an additional £740 million in new grant funding over and above the provisional settlement. This means that by the end of the multi-year settlement, the government will have provided a 15.5% increase in core spending power, worth £11.4 billion compared to last year. Mr Mayor, when Labour took office, Jim McMahon, as Minister for Local Government, introduced the Recovery Grant, a £600 million down payment targeted at those areas that suffered the most from austerity to help them rebuild. Sunderland benefited from that grant. It assisted us last year in reducing our budget pressures and enabled the targeted expansion of the ASB hub model from the 3 to the 6 hubs that we currently have. This year, I am grateful to the government for maintaining the recovery grant, but also for introducing the recovery grant guarantee so that every upper tier council received a real terms boost. That boost enables this council to make small but needed interventions into much needed services that the residents of Sunderland continually tell us are their priorities. Mr Mayor, turning closer to home, as part of the budget setting process, we continue to review our city plan annually, with our latest plan covering 2026 to 2035, reconfirming our vision that Sunderland will be a connected international city with opportunities for all. The regular review of the city plan enables us to ensure that in a fast-moving environment, we are clear about the considerable progress being made and that our efforts and resources remain focused on delivering further improvements and opportunities for everyone in our city. Year after year, key aspects of the plan are very much taking shape, with major developments being delivered by the Council alongside partners across all sectors, and it's with the continuation of this in mind, against a backdrop of global, national, regional and local conditions, challenges and opportunities, that I am proud to move the revenue and capital budget proposals this afternoon. To play its part in delivering the city plan, the Council has developed the corporate plan 2025 to 2028 as an expression of its medium-term organisational priorities. The corporate plan defines the Council's key areas of focus as it works to achieve the vision for Sunderland. It provides the future council context for the organisation's ongoing transformation, and it supports the allocation of resources and the setting of clear objectives. Mr Mayor, the corporate plan sets out key outcomes, priorities and actions to help ensure that working alongside partners, we are focused on delivering the best services possible for residents, businesses and stakeholders. At the heart of the plan is the commitment to delivering smart, high-quality services, driving economic growth, reducing inequalities and creating a cleaner, greener Sunderland. The plan's medium-term priorities support the delivery of each of the city plan ambitions and includes a set of outcomes that are everyone's business and responsibility across the whole of the organisation. Mr Mayor, Sunderland is a city of transformation, resilience and ambition, with a proud industrial heritage and a forward-looking vision for inclusive growth, innovation and sustainability. Mr Mayor, this year has been defined by major progress across every portfolio, with nationally recognised achievements in digital innovation, regeneration, children's services, adult services and building safer, stronger communities. Our smart city recognition, major investment at Riverside Sunderland and strengthened partnerships with government and industry reflects the city's rising national profile. We have continued to invest in social care, homelessness prevention, building stronger, more resilient, cohesive communities and early help, ensuring residents remain at the heart of everything we do. Mr Mayor, despite national pressures, Sunderland continues to lead with an ambition, innovation and financial discipline. Working with our partners, we remain committed to delivering the best service possible. Progress in the past year include the ongoing regeneration of Riverside Sunderland, with the completion of Maker and Faber, the opening of Cale Crossing, the construction of the new eye hospital, and preparatory work for new residential neighbourhoods. Further significant developments have taken place at the International Advanced Manufacturing Park in Washington and its development into a North East Investment Zone hub for clean energy and clean manufacturing. We've launched the Sunderland app, which has everything residents and visitors need to know about what's going on in the city. And we've addressed antisocial behaviour and supporting safer community through targeted innovation, partnership-based models, including the Zara project in Southwick, Halo in Easington Lane and Hetton, the SAIL project in the city centre, and investment in 3 further hubs in Hendon, Pennywell and Concord and Sulgrave. Mr Mayor, as my Cabinet colleagues will outline in more detail shortly, forthcoming plans and projects include building on the physical smart house project, the development of a virtual smart house allowing users and practitioners to explore and interact with the space virtually, broadening access and showcasing assistive technologies, working with partners to complete Riverside Park, Culture House Sunderland, the new eye hospital and residential developments at Nile and Villiers Street, Farringdon Row and West Park, and the commencement of construction work at Crown Works. Additionally, we are developing and delivering new strategies to address issues of key importance to residents, including community safety, stronger communities, tackling child poverty and the cost of living. And we will now go on to deliver the Healthy City Plan, which was thoroughly reviewed and refocused in the latter part of 2025 and builds on some very welcome improvements in recent years in relation to improving health and health outcomes. Mr Mayor, the 2026-2027 local government finance settlement provides Sunderland with a 6.6% increase in core spending power, reflecting continued government recognition of the significant pressures facing adults and children's social care. However, demand continues to rise, particularly in temporary accommodation, adult social care support and children's services, and inflation continues to affect the cost of delivering every service we provide. These pressures form the basis of the £27.6 million of new spending commitments for the coming year. Mr Mayor, in order to protect frontline services, invest in our priorities and avoid deeper cuts in future years, we are proposing this afternoon an increase in core council tax of 2.5%, in addition to the adult social care precept. Mr Mayor, without this increase, the scale of reductions required to balance the budget would be severe and would fall most heavily on the services that residents tell us they value most. Even with the increase, Sunderland will continue to have the lowest Band D council tax in the region. A manifesto commitment made by this Labour group to keep council tax increases to a minimum and ensure we continue to levy the lowest council tax in the region is fulfilled for another year, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, it's worth pointing out that this 3-year settlement is a minimum guarantee of financial support from government and not a ceiling. And I and my Labour colleagues will continue to put as much pressure on the government, not only to increase the size of the overall funding pot for local government, but to introduce further much-needed reforms to the system in order to reduce the reliability on council tax and the overall approach to council funding across the country. As the system currently still puts too much pressure on councils to raise council tax to fund demand-led services, such as adult social care, leaving less space for local choice and flexibility. However, council tax is not the solution to the financial challenges facing local government. As I've said previously, Mr Mayor, it is a regressive tax and places a significant burden on some households, and it is an out-of-date system. In addition, increasing council tax raises different amounts of money across the country, so it's not related always to need. There's a need for a fundamental review of council tax alongside other council funding sources, and I would urge all parties to engage in this debate and to seek a sector-wide, cross-party consensus on the future of council tax. But until that happens, Mr Mayor, we are unfortunately stuck with the system that we have. Mr Mayor, looking at our priorities, this budget includes over £12.8 million in additional resources for adult social care and 5.8 million for children's social care. These increases reflect our commitment to supporting older residents, vulnerable adults and children with increasingly complex needs. We will continue lobbying government for long-term reform and sustainable funding for social care, recognising that social care system cannot rely indefinitely on the council tax precept alone. Mr Mayor, our commitment to tackling homelessness continues, with further investment to support a more preventative, person-centred model. Demand for temporary accommodation has grown significantly and remains a key financial risk. This budget provides further investment to ensure we continue meeting our statutory duties while working to reduce homelessness in the long term. The 2026-27 budget also continues our ambitious capital investment programme, supporting regeneration at Riverside Sunderland, continued progress at IAMP and key infrastructure improvements across the whole of the city. Mr Mayor, Culture House Sunderland remains a flagship scheme within our cultural regeneration programme and is due to open in spring this year. We are investing in our communities too, with resources to strengthen communities, support events and cultural opportunities, enhance enforcement activity and improve community safety through our Safer Sunderland partnership arrangements, as well as investing, Mr Mayor, in youth provision. One of the worst casualties of Tory austerity was the reduction in youth provision, and I'm absolutely delighted that this Labour group is putting the first steps in reintroducing youth provision to Sunderland. Every one of which is a priority for local people across the city, and I expect every single one of which, Mr Mayor, will be opposed this afternoon by the parties opposite. Mr Mayor, recognising the financial challenges our residents face, we continue to operate a comprehensive council tax support scheme, protecting thousands of low-income households across the city. This remains one of the most generous schemes in the region and stands in stark contrast to our neighbours in County Durham, who have balanced their budget on the backs of the poorest in their county. Residents in working-class communities like Peterlee, Merton and Easington having the support they need ripped away by an uncaring reform-led council. The choice before the people of Sunderland on the 7th of May couldn't be clearer, Mr Mayor. A Sunderland Labour-led council that protects our most vulnerable and invests in communities, or a reformed council who will punish the most vulnerable and rip out support from neighbourhoods across the city. I know which choice the people of Sunderland will make. Beyond the coming year, Mr Mayor, our medium-term financial plan identifies a £36.3 million funding gap between 2027-28 and 29-30. We will address this gap through transformation, innovation, income maximisation and continued robust financial management. However, long-term sustainability requires fundamental further substantial resources. We welcome the additional funding provided to councils like us as part of the local government finance settlement, and we will continue to lobby for further increases in the coming years. Mr Mayor, in concluding, I would say that our city plan continues to guide our ambitions. Working with our invaluable partners, we are committed to making Sunderland a dynamic, healthy, vibrant and connected city with opportunities for all. I also want to recognise the vital role that all our partners, and particularly those in the voluntary and community sector, play in enabling us to connect with residents and communities and fully understand their needs, priorities, challenges and aspirations. So I want to thank everyone involved to date in so readily coming to the table to be part of the resetting of relationships and the co-production of some of the plans and programmes I mentioned earlier. I would like to thank Cabinet colleagues, council officers, partners and members of the public who contributed to the budget consultation. The insights and feedback provided shaped the proposal before us this afternoon. Mr Mayor, I have said on many occasions I want this council to work with local residents so together we can shape services, plans, strategies and investment, developing the practice of genuine co-production across our city. I believe this budget is a genuine step forward in that direction. It reflects the asks of local communities, from our resident survey to other feedback. It invests £1.5 million in youth services, an additional £1 million in community safety, an extra £1.2 million to our voluntary community sector to help deliver the stronger community strategy, an extra £1 million on top of the increased government funding to tackle potholes across the city, £100,000 to deliver community-based events across the city. It also puts significant investment into protecting the most vulnerable by providing additional support for adults and children's social care. It continues our award-winning regeneration story that is transforming the city's skyline and is seeing Sunderland held up as how a city should approach inclusive regeneration. And at the same time, it has not shied away from making difficult decisions in the city's best interests. It's a balanced, prudent budget that addresses the needs of the city while protecting the financial resilience of the council. And with all that being said, Mr Mayor, I commend the revenue budget and capital programme for 2026-2027 to council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You might want to turn your mic off, Michael. Thank you. Before dealing with any amendments, the individual portfolios will be introduced by the portfolio holders. Deputy Leader of the Council and Health and Wellbeing and Safer Communities, Councillor Checker, would you like to speak?
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, as Deputy Leader of the Council and Portfolio Holder for Health, Wellbeing and Safer Communities, I am pleased to endorse and to second the Revenue Budget and Capital Programme for 2026-2027. This year's proposals continue to place our most vulnerable residents at the heart of our decision-making while ensuring we build a safer, healthier and more resilient Sunderland. Over the last year, we have continued to deliver significant improvements across health, wellbeing and community safety, with major progress being made in reducing antisocial behaviour, improving health outcomes and expanding our homelessness prevention initiatives. Our Safer Sunderland partnership has delivered thousands of hours of patrols, and new enforcement activity and strong partnership working, helping to keep communities safe and rebuild trust following national challenges. We've also seen continued success in drug and alcohol preventative initiatives and treatment, with improved outcomes across participation, support and recovery. Alongside this, our work with the voluntary and community sector has deepened, helping ensure residents feel safer, more supported and better connected. The Care Quality Commission rated our adult social care services as good across all 9 inspection domains in 2025. Inspectors commended the Council's focus on reablement, independence and personalised care. And the Weir Recovery Community Drug and Alcohol Treatment Service was rated good across all 5 inspection domains in 2025, with inspectors commending the positive and proactive culture of safety based on openness and honesty. Mr Mayor, improving health outcomes, reducing inequalities, preventing homelessness and strengthening our community safety remains a fundamental priority for my portfolio. The pressures we face nationally and locally have not diminished. Demand for temporary accommodation continues to rise. The complexity of need in adult social care increases year on year, and communities across the country continue to struggle financially. The 2026-2027 budget responds to these realities. As the leader outlined, significant new investment has been prioritised for adult social care, with over £12.8 million allocated to meet inflationary and demand pressures. This is essential if we are to continue supporting our vulnerable older people, working age adults with complex needs, and those requiring community-based care and support. We also continue to focus on homelessness prevention. The pressures on temporary accommodation have intensified across the UK, and Sunderland is no exception. This year's budget strengthens our response by supporting a more preventative, holistic model, one that ensures individuals and families receive wraparound support to rebuild stability and move towards sustained and independent living. Turning to public health, we welcome the continuation of national investment in public health, with the specific investments in drug and alcohol treatment and smoking cessation. This investment supports our Healthy City Plan's approach to making a positive difference to how our environment shapes our health. It plays a critical role in reducing health inequalities and supporting better long-term outcomes for residents. Prevention remains central to our approach, and this budget ensures we maintain our citywide focus on healthy lives, healthy environments, and strong community wellbeing. Community safety also remains a central priority for residents across our city. I am delighted that this year's proposals include a further £1 million of investment to tackle antisocial behaviour and other local concerns. No resident should feel unsafe in their neighbourhood, and this additional funding will strengthen enforcement, prevention and partnership-based interventions. As the leader outlined, building on the significant impact of SARA, Halo and SAIL projects, we've now set up similar hubs and partnerships in Concord and Sulgrave, Pennywell and Hendon to support residents, reduce antisocial behaviour and improve safety and well-being in those communities. This budget also supports our wider ambitions for resilient and inclusive communities. As other Cabinet colleagues will highlight, our work to strengthen cohesion and a sense of pride and belonging in communities is essential, and this is where we see deliberate alignment between the refreshed Sunderland Community Safety Plan 2025 to 2029 and the emerging Stronger Communities strategic framework. The Community Safety Plan is the product of evidence and data analysis, consultation and engagement with stakeholders and communities, and has identified a set of key themes which we are investing in next year to make Sunderland safer, and including reducing serious violence, addressing domestic abuse, reducing antisocial behaviour, improving social cohesion and preventing violent extremism. Mr Mayor, as the leader outlined, the medium-term financial plan identifies significant pressures in the years ahead, but we continue to adopt a disciplined, forward-thinking approach, developing early intervention services, taking a neighbourhood view of the redesign of support models and ensuring that resources are directed where they will have the greatest impact. Despite the challenges, this remains a responsible and compassionate budget. It protects essential services, invests in community safety, strengthens public health and prioritises the well-being of our most vulnerable residents. It also ensures that as regeneration continues at pace across Sunderland, no one is left behind. With this, Mr Mayor, I fully support and commend to Council the Revenue Budget and Capital Programme for 2026-2027. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The portfolio for children's services and child poverty and skills. And I believe, Michael, you'll be speaking instead of Councillor Michael Butler. Is that correct?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, Councillor Butler, as we know him, is also goes by Captain Butler, and he is currently on deployment with the Army Reserve training, and obviously with everything that's going on in the Middle East, I think the whole Council will want to place out on our thanks and appreciation to everything His Majesty's forces, both reserve and regular, do in protection of us. And we hope Michael comes back quickly. Mr Mayor, our Revenue Budget and Capital Programme for 26-27 continues our unwavering commitment to ensuring that every child and young person in Sunderland has the opportunity to thrive, learn and achieve their fullest potential. The Children's Services portfolio covers child poverty, early help, SEND and learning and skills, all areas that remain central to the Council's vision for a fairer, more inclusive city. Mr Mayor, over the past year, Sunderland's Children's Services, delivered by Together for Children, have continued to demonstrate exceptional strength and once again received an outstanding Ofsted rating. Inspectors praised the unstinting focus on doing what is right for children and recognised the warmth, dedication and consistency of support provided to children and families. Key strengths identified included leadership, protection, care for children in need and support for care leavers. Individual children's homes have also achieved repeated outstanding ratings. Mr Mayor, this reconfirmation of excellence highlights the maturity of our safeguarding practice and the commitment of our workforce to ensure every child receives the highest standard of care. We have also marked major progress in early childhood development and family support, not least through our fantastic network of family hubs. These hubs continue to play a critical role in engaging families early, promoting well-being and strengthening community connections. Once again, we can highlight the extent of the collaborative effort to create stronger communities with the family hubs based in all areas of the city, playing a key role in offering dedicated family support and services, and acting as a bridge and connector for residents not only between one another, but also in building trusted relationships with the Council and our other partner agencies. Mr Mayor, I'm extremely pleased to confirm the publication of the Council's first child poverty strategy, which received final Cabinet approval in December. One of the first of its kind, it aligns with the North East Combined Authorities Child Poverty Action Plan and the recently published National Strategy. Our own framework brings focus and coordination to the work taking place across the city to reduce poverty and improve long-term outcomes for children, reflecting our unwavering focus on fairness and inclusion. Mr Mayor, every child in Sunderland should have the right to thrive and fulfil their potential. But sadly, too many families are struggling financially, and this hampers their ability to access the many opportunities being created in the city today. The Child Poverty Strategy and our investment in the next year therefore commits us to getting to the root causes of poverty, working with partners to tackle them innovative and impactful ways, and to understand and addressing alongside the data, facts and figures, the lived experience of Sunderland families and the daily challenges they face. Mr Mayor, despite ongoing national pressures on children's services, 2025-2026 has been another year of significant progress in Sunderland. And through the Ofsted judgment in particular, we can be assured that Sunderland remains a leading authority in good practice, safeguarding and children's social care excellence. This year's budget recognises the challenges we face. Demand for children's services continue to rise nationally, and Sunderland is no exception. The 2026-2027 budget includes a £5.8 million of additional investment to support the increasing complexity of need in children's social care, ensuring we continue to protect vulnerable children and support families at the earliest possible opportunity. Mr Mayor, our investment in expanding in-house residential care provision continues to prove transformative. By increasing the number of local children's homes, we are enabling more Sunderland children to remain in the city, close to their schools, support networks and communities. This also protects the Council from escalating external care placement costs, an issue that continues to place significant pressure on local authorities across the country. Mr Mayor, our early help services remain a vital part of our approach. Over the past 6 years, we have built a strong early intervention model, one that continues to deliver results. The rollout of the family hubs I mentioned earlier has expanded our ability to engage families earlier, provide tailored support and signposts to local opportunities. These hubs, supported by digital access, social media and online booking, ensure that families can get the right help at the right time, and with our continued investment next year, Sunderland will remain setting the standard nationally in this area. Mr Mayor, turning to SEND provision, the demand for education, health and care plans continues to rise sharply, reflecting national trends. Sunderland has seen a threefold increase in plans over the last 3 years, with particularly rapid growth among under-5s. In response, we have continued to expand the range and quality of specialist SEND places across the city, including new provision at Hudson Road and Mill Hill primary schools. While our Delivering Better Value programme is already helping to improve the long-term sustainability of SEND funding, home-to-school transport remains an area of significant pressure. We continue to invest in carbon-reducing, independence-creating transport initiatives, but like many councils, we await the details of the urgently needed national reform and funding solutions. Mr Mayor, ensuring that every child has a safe, high-quality learning environment remains a priority. The Council continues to invest in improving the condition of our maintained school buildings, ensuring they remain safe, secure and able to deliver the high-quality curriculum the students of Sunderland deserve. Mr Mayor, we all recognise that no child can learn or develop as they should with no or little food in their stomachs. And supporting the delivery of our health and education and child poverty strategies, we have moved to auto-enroll eligible children for free school meals and to maximise pupil premium funding for schools. Mr Mayor, I'm also delighted that the budget provides for investment of £1.5 million, which will focus on the delivery of activities and providing safe, warm spaces for our young people. Mr Mayor, I now turn to the adult learning and skills, part of Councillor Butler's portfolio. The Adult Skills Fund and our Learning and Skills Service remain crucial in supporting adults to access high-quality training that leads to employment or progression. Through a new strategy that Cabinet will soon receive for consideration and our work with the North East Combined Authority, we will build on an already significant track record and continue to secure funding that supports a curriculum aligned to local labour market's needs, helping residents gain the skills, confidence and qualifications they need. In the last academic year, Mr Mayor, over 1,600 residents took part in learning programmes, with 176 securing employment, many in permanent roles that provide long-term stability and opportunity. These are not just statistics, they represent real people, real families and real futures, being strengthened by the opportunities we are creating. Mr Mayor, this is a disciplined and responsible budget that recognises the ongoing pressures in children's services but meets them head-on, investing in early support, targeted and specialist provision and long-term prevention. It strengthens our early health approach, expands SEND capacity, supports our workforce and continues this Cabinet's mission to reduce child poverty. With this, Mr Mayor, and with the full confidence in the direction of travel for children's services in Sunderland, I once again commend the 2026-2027 Revenue Budget and Capital Programme to Council. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Modi, and thank you so much for filling in for Councillor Butler as well. Portfolio holder for Communities, Culture and Tourism, Councillor Jones.
Thank you. Mr Mayor, today we have been asked to endorse a revenue budget and capital programme for 2026-27 that is not only financially responsible but transformational for our city and for its people. The programme does far more than balance numbers on a page. It is a statement of political intent from our Labour group and sets out unmistakably the kind of city we believe Sunderland deserves, and it draws a very clear line between those who want to invest in our communities across the whole city and those who would allow decline to continue. This programme of renewal and ambition shows that even in a challenging financial climate that we refuse to retreat from investment in our people, in our neighbourhoods and our future. It reflects our commitment to continue to strengthen our communities, expand our cultural offer and enhance Sunderland's growing reputation as a vibrant, inclusive and internationally recognised city. My portfolio remains focused on supporting resilient, connected communities, delivering world-class cultural, sporting and events programmes, facilitating citywide programmes that increase physical activity, participation and championing Sunderland as a dynamic destination for residents and visitors alike. This year's budget ensures we can continue that work while responding to new challenges and opportunities. Looking back for a moment, 2025-26 was without a doubt, regardless of which side of the chamber you sit on, a landmark year for communities, culture and tourism, in showcasing the very best of Sunderland. From hosting the opening game of the Women's Rugby World Cup, to our Pride celebrations, to major concerts, sporting events and cultural festivals, ending perfectly with the New Year's Eve celebrations in Keele Square. We successfully delivered experiences that brought people together, strengthened our local economy and promoted our city on a national, international and global stage. This year has seen the delivery of ambitious citywide programmes that have boosted participation in physical activity, strengthened community sport, engagement and support health and wellbeing for residents across the city. Similarly, the Financial Wellbeing Service has provided vital support to thousands of residents, offering guidance on budgeting, debt prevention and income maximisation, ensuring financial resilience is strengthening within our communities. And we continue to develop our cultural venues, securing investment from the National Lottery Heritage Fund for the redevelopment of the Museum and Winter Gardens, and driving forward with the construction of Culture House, with a wide range of activities and programmes delivered across the city as part of the pre-opening programme. Tourism has continued to grow with record visitor figures, increased employment and the launch of new cultural and heritage programmes that shine a spotlight on everything our city has to offer to visitors and residents alike. Looking ahead to 26-27, this budget enables us to build on that success and includes continued support for our expanding cultural programme. Our recognition as a music city, one of only 2 in the UK, is a true testament to the outstanding talent in our communities and the ambition we share to make culture accessible to all. It builds on all the opportunities our Music Connect programme opens up for children and young people across the city through music education. Mr Mayor, strengthening communities and building social cohesion remains a key element of my portfolio. The events of 2024 demonstrate how vital it is that we listen to all of our communities, build trust and work in partnership to promote unity, fairness and opportunity. And that is why I am delighted that this budget includes further investment in community engagement, partnership-based cohesion activity and delivery of the emerging stronger community strategic framework. Developing the framework, which was approved by Cabinet in consultative draft form in December, has been based on deeper engagement between communities and services delivered to the Council and its partners. And I'd like to echo other portfolio holders in their recognition of the vital role of the voluntary and community sector as the organisations and individuals who work closest with our residents day in and day out. Mr Mayor, as we move into 2026-27, we are investing over £2 million in delivering stronger communities under the 5 themes of the strategic framework: extending engagement and participation, connecting more people to more opportunities, working even more closely with the voluntary and community sector, promoting our city and building strong relationships, and in tandem with the delivery of the community safety plan referred to by the Deputy Leader, strengthening community safety. And this year's budget also supports the further development of our cultural venues and attractions, funding for museums and heritage, Arts Centre Washington, and the long-awaited F-Pit in Albany Park. The redevelopment of the museum and winter gardens and community arts activity across our venues ensures that culture in its widest sense remains central to our city's identity and to its offer. At the heart of our cultural transformation is Culture House, Sunderland, a flagship development and a major capital investment within the city's wider regeneration programme. Due to open later this year, Culture House is set to be one of the most exciting buildings of its kind within and beyond the UK, with a programme creating year-round opportunities, creative and cultural activity for all, digital and literacy culture, and innovation-led public art. It will transform our library offer, expand access to cultural engagement, and provide an inviting high-quality setting celebrating national and local talent. Mr Mayor, significant investment in the museum and winter gardens was also confirmed by Cabinet in November 2025, supported by the National Lottery Heritage Fund, Arts Council England and the Wolfson Foundation. This will ensure that the building and its historic and accredited collection is conserved and protected so it can continue to be enjoyed by future generations for many years to come. Events remain a major driver of economic and social activity across the city, and we will continue to innovate and expand our offer, welcoming Radio 1's Big Week Out in Heron Country Park in May, and take that the Circus Live tour to the Stadium of Light in June. Next year's programme already includes exciting milestones from new youth art initiatives, sustainability-focused community festivals, and expanded music, heritage and sport events. These are the kind of experiences that unite communities, attract visitors and strengthen pride in our city. Tourism also continues to grow as a vital part of Sunderland's economy. The launch of our first ever tourism strategy last year will support further growth in this sector, celebrating our heritage, our coastline, our cultural attractions and our world-class events. Over 4,500 people are already employed in the tourism-related offer in the city, and with our new strategy, we aim to grow that number by expanding opportunities, improving the visitor experience and strengthening our reputation as an exciting and a welcoming destination. Next year, we will continue to play a vital role in strengthening the health and well-being of our communities by increasing participation in physical activity and widening access to inclusive programmes across the city, with a focus on reducing inactivity in targeted communities. We will continue to improve access to sport and leisure by investing in community infrastructure to ensure that every resident has the opportunity to be active and enjoy the physical and mental health benefits that follow. In relation to financial well-being, the focus continues to be providing support, maximising income, including help with energy, housing and food costs, as well as offering money advice and debt support to reduce financial crisis situations. Enhancing financial inclusion, especially for people that are currently disadvantaged, and continue to offer learning skills and employment support to building long-term resilience. As Cabinet colleagues have highlighted, the financial positions for local authorities remains extremely challenging. Yet, despite these pressures, this budget continues to prioritise investments in culture, events, tourism and community support, recognising the considerable impact that these areas have on well-being, inclusion, economic growth and, importantly, on civic pride. Mr Mayor, this is a forward-looking, credible and balanced plan. It allows us to invest in opportunity, in fairness and in resilience, whilst maintaining the financial discipline that residents expect of us. The plans will strengthen our communities, enhance our cultural and events offer and build on opportunities for all. This emphasises that we are choosing better outcomes for families and communities across Sunderland, Washington and the coalfields, and it supports our vision of a confident, creative, inclusive and healthy city where every resident can participate, contribute and celebrate what makes our city special. This programme demonstrates that we choose investment, we choose ambition and we choose the City of Sunderland, and that is why, Mr Mayor, I proudly commend it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Jones. Portfolio holder for Corporate Services and Equalities, Councillor Alison Smith.
Thank you. Mr Mayor, as the portfolio holder for Corporate Services and Equalities, I am pleased to endorse the Revenue Budget and Capital Programme for 2026-27. This budget reflects the Council's continued commitment to sound financial management, strong governance, modern and efficient services, and a fair and inclusive approach that supports all of our communities. Mr Mayor, over the last year, under the Corporate Services and Equalities portfolio, we have continued to modernise and strengthen our organisation through major digital innovation, smart financial planning, and sustained equality and inclusion work. As Council is aware, our Smart City programme has earned national and international recognition, and I am particularly pleased to report that this extends to recognising the expansion of our digital hubs, data initiatives and resident-focused digital services that continue to connect residents to opportunities and reduce inequalities. With major investment in ICT, governance, workforce and corporate systems, we have built solid foundations for a fair, inclusive and future-ready council. Mr Mayor, while pressures across local government remain significant, this year's local government finance settlement provides stability and additional support for councils facing rising demand, particularly in social care. For Sunderland, this settlement supports our ability to maintain essential services while continuing our ambitious programme of transformation across the city in 2026-27. Across my portfolio, our focus is on ensuring that our internal operations remain integrated, forward-looking and resilient. The Council's financial planning framework continues to provide the solid foundations needed to manage risk and respond to national economic pressures, including inflation, pay award impacts and the rising cost of delivering services. The medium-term financial plan rightly identifies that despite our careful stewardship, the financial outlook beyond 2026-27 remains challenging. The projected £36.3 million funding gap through to 2029-30 will require continued discipline, reform and innovation, but our track record demonstrates that the Council is well placed to respond, as did the findings of the Local Government Association Corporate Peer Challenge that took place in November. Mr Mayor, the Peer Challenge team found the Council to be amongst the most ambitious and best performing in the country, with significant robustness around financial management and planning, delivery of key services, corporate leadership and governance. And so, in 2026-2027, we will continue to provide clear oversight of corporate planning, performance management, transformation and financial sustainability. Mr Mayor, aligned to this budget supports our continued investment in corporate infrastructure. Over £8.3 million is allocated to priority projects within the corporate services portfolio, including essential ICT and digital infrastructure upgrades, ongoing decarbonisation and energy efficiency programmes, and improvements across the Council's operational estate. These investments ensure that our services remain modern, efficient, secure and fit for the future. As I mentioned before, our Smart City programme continues to position Sunderland as a leader in digital innovation, not just regionally, but nationally and globally. Through strategic partnerships, we continue to roll out 5G and fibre infrastructure, support autonomous mobility trials, deploy assistive technologies, and make best use of data, AI, and sensor-based systems to improve public services, efficiencies, and quality of life for residents. Mr Mayor, as I've already outlined, equality, fairness and inclusion also remains at the heart of this portfolio. And, as with other portfolios, we are playing our part in the Stronger Communities agenda in connecting with residents through the introduction of the Commonplace Engagement Platform. As a Labour-led council, we remain committed to supporting our most vulnerable residents through our Council Tax Support Scheme and the Crisis and Resilience Fund, and through ongoing work to build financial resilience across all communities. And in terms of the running of the Council itself, we've also strengthened our approach to corporate equalities, ensuring that decision-making continues to be informed by robust impact assessments and engagement with stakeholders. As outlined by the Leader, we have very much welcomed the additional funding provided by the Government as part of the final local government finance settlement in response to the significant lobbying undertaken by the leadership of this Council and similar councils across the country. Councils like Sunderland, with higher levels of deprivation and lower ability to raise income locally, must have a fair settlement that reflects real levels of need. And we have strongly made this case as part of the Government's consultation on funding reform. Mr Mayor, this budget enables us to continue investing in the core corporate functions that keep the Council running: finance, legal, people management, ICT, governance, procurement and corporate planning. These services remain essential to the delivery of our city plan and to ensuring that every portfolio has the tools, the systems and the support it needs to succeed. This year's budget also continues capital investment, improving our operational buildings, maintaining essential assets and ensuring modern, accessible and energy-efficient facilities for employees, residents and all stakeholders. Mr Mayor, despite continued pressures on council finances, this is a responsible and forward-looking budget. It protects the services residents rely on, invests in our internal capabilities, strengthens our digital and equalities work, ensures a sustainable and resilient organisation capable of meeting future challenge. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the members of the Labour Group who actively participated in the preparation and consideration of this budget, and to the outstanding team of officers who never fail to deliver the best service for the residents of Sunderland. With that, Mr Mayor, I fully commend the 2026-27 revenue budget and capital programme to Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Portfolio holder for Environment, Transport and Net Zero, Councillor Lindsay Leonard.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. For the second time, I'm pleased to present a budget related to my portfolio, which continues to prioritise a clean, green, safe and accessible Sunderland. The services under this portfolio remain fundamental to delivering our city plan ambitions and ensuring that every resident benefits from the regeneration and economic growth we are driving across the city. I hope to provide a broad outline of spending, and apologies, but given the breadth of the portfolio and the time to speak, I may not mention all the items and projects in detail that we intend to cover within the portfolio. I only mention this now, as last year I was called a barefaced liar by members of the opposition because I did not mention in my speech something that I had committed to in a scrutiny meeting. Incidentally, I've held true to that scrutiny commitment, which has seen school street schemes drawn up, consulted on and scheduled to be rolled out ready for the coming academic year, if not sooner. And this programme is set to continue. However, I have still not received an apology for the insulting and untruthful comment. Mr Mayor, this past year saw major strides in our environmental and low carbon commitments, including the expansion of electric vehicle infrastructure, investment in energy efficiency, improved digital enablement in waste and environmental services, and continued investment in parks, coastlines and green spaces. The rollout of smart environmental technology and improved transport infrastructure strengthens connectivity across the city. Our flood and coastal defence work, combined with major tree and green space programmes, continues to protect communities and enhance resilience. These achievements demonstrate our commitment to a greener, healthier, more sustainable Sunderland. Mr Mayor, the 26-27 budget reflects both the challenges and opportunities ahead. Inflationary pressures and increasing demand continue to affect every aspect of service delivery, from environmental services to transport infrastructure and our sustainable regeneration activities. Keeping Sunderland clean, safe and welcoming is a priority for all our residents. Investment in the refuge and environmental services fleet will ensure we continue to deliver reliable, high-quality services that residents value. Alongside this, regulatory services such as planning, licensing and environmental health departments will continue to play an integral role in supporting economic growth, protecting standards and ensuring our city is a place where people are proud to live, work and study, and it's somewhere where people are eager to visit. We know that residents want to feel safe and proud of where they live when they open their front doors, and we also know the same applies to where they spend their leisure time and go to access services and goods, hospitality and shops. I am therefore pleased to report that we are currently investing in improvements to 22 high streets and shopping areas across the city to make them clean, safe and welcoming for residents and to boost trade for local business owners. This portfolio also supports the delivery of our world-class events and cultural programmes by ensuring the city is accessible, attractive and welcoming for visitors. From improved parking arrangements at Hevington Country Park to enhancements across public spaces, the portfolio plays a vital enabling role across the wider ambitions and activities highlighted by Cabinet colleagues. Building on the success of Parsons Depot, we have the development of our new Coalfield Depot, accommodating the services residents across each and every neighbourhood of the council rely on every day, such as refuse collections, highway maintenance and grounds maintenance. It represents a further commitment to maintaining a strong operational foundations for these services, whilst looking to the future to anticipate changes in technology to improve service delivery. This year's budget also continues significant investment in the city transport network, supporting the large-scale regeneration taking place and strengthening routes that connect our communities to jobs, education, culture and leisure. We are progressing major developments across our highways and bridges and supporting active travel schemes, as well as investing a further £1 million directly into repairing potholes And in addition to the £1 million pothole fund, the procurement of technology to improve the quality, quantity and efficiency of those pothole repairs. Mr Mayor, our commitment to net zero and reducing carbon emission continues. Our success has been recognised nationally and globally, and our strength in attracting external funding to support this activity has enabled us to offer the same support to council colleagues, our residents, businesses and voluntary sector communities while reducing the council's budget spend. We continue to expand the rollout of electric vehicle charging hubs across Sunderland, supporting residents who are transitioning to cleaner vehicles. Our broader decarbonisation initiatives, including investments in renewable energy regeneration and energy efficiency measures across the council's operational estate and alongside support to schools, plays a vital role in not only cutting emissions but also improving energy resilience and energy efficiency citywide. And importantly, we continue to create opportunities for our children and young people so they can play their part in shaping a more sustainable city for future generations to come. We will continue as a priority with our warmer home schemes and support services, working with local and regional partners to maximise the opportunities for residents across the city. Promoting energy efficiency plays a key part in supporting household financial resilience and supports stronger communities and tackling poverty, as outlined by my other Cabinet colleagues. In terms of natural assets, this year's budget sustains investments in our parks, coastline and green spaces. This includes ongoing regeneration across parks and open spaces, as well as further investment in coastal defences to increase community resilience, protecting vulnerable areas of our shoreline and safeguarding vulnerable communities for the future. We are continuing our citywide tree management programme and investing in tree planting as part of the North East Community Forest, ensuring a sustainable and resilient landscape for future generations. We are also creating opportunities to increase access to nature for residents in communities across the city, recognising the wider benefits this can have, including for our health and our well-being. Mr Mayor, I am proud that the budget continues to support an ambitious joined-up approach to deliver a cleaner, greener and more sustainable Sunderland. It reflects our commitment to providing the infrastructure needed and improving local environments for Sunderland to thrive and fulfil its vast potential as a connected international city with opportunities for all. And with that, Mr Mayor, I commend the 2026-27 Revenue Budget and Capital Programme to the Council.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lindsay Leonard. Portfolio holder for Housing, Regeneration and Business, Councillor Johnston.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I am delighted to endorse the Revenue Budget and Capital Programme for 2026-27, which continues to drive forward our ambitious plans for regeneration, housing delivery and economic growth. These proposals reaffirm our commitment to ensuring Sunderland is a dynamic, thriving and self-sustaining smart city where residents have access to high-quality homes, good jobs and growing opportunities. Mr Mayor, the past year has seen landmark progress in housing, regeneration and business growth, with transformational development continuing at Riverside Sunderland, including new sustainable homes and public spaces and the opening of the new footbridge, Kale Crossing. And Mr Mayor, after last night's results and 3 points for the lads, now reaching 40 points, I'm sure our fans will be crossing over once again in the 2026-27 season to watch Premier League football again at the Stadium of Light. Major government investment to support the transition to electric vehicles in manufacturing, skills and industrial innovation, combined with significant private sector investment and developments by Nissan, AESC UK, Jatco and other supply chain companies, continues to position Sunderland at the heart of this globally competitive sector. And Mr Mayor, with Sunnyside, West Park and wider community-focused regeneration programmes continue to support economic vibrancy, provide high-quality homes and create safe and attractive neighbourhoods. Highlighting the importance of the skills to our economic future, the new Housing Innovation and Construction Skills Academy, delivered by the Council for Education Partnership North East, opened its doors to students last September. HICSA will equip local people with the skills needed for modern methods of construction and retrofitting, supporting residents into skilled and well-paid work in the years ahead. We are delighted that HICSA has now also been selected by the Government as the region's Construction Technical Excellence College to help drive excellence and increase opportunities in this key area. Mr Mayor, our city plan sets out a bold vision for Sunderland's future, and the work being delivered across many portfolios is transforming that vision into reality. The capital programme for 26-27 provides substantial investment into continuing this transformation, with £264 million allocated across a range of projects that are reshaping our city and supporting businesses, residents and partners. Riverside Sun remains one of the most ambitious regeneration projects anywhere in the UK, and the progress is visible every day. The development of new homes, offices and public spaces and cultural venues is creating a vibrant new city centre for the 21st century. In the months ahead, we will see the completion of landmark developments, including Culture House, the new Sunderland Eye Hospital and the first phase of the new Riverside Park. We will also commence the delivery of critical infrastructure to support the creation of a new residential community at Sheepfolds, whilst the Vaux and Farrington Road communities will continue to progress at pace. We will strengthen the leisure offer along the Quay line, and new businesses will continue to occupy the high-quality commercial space that has been created by the Council and its partners. Through the implementation of the Riverside Sunderland Creative Mayoral Development Zone, we will, in partnership with the North East Combined Authority and Homes England, strengthen our long-term vision for the city and create investable development pipelines which will deliver integrated communities and increase opportunities for residents and businesses across the Riverside. Beyond the city centre, as I've just mentioned, major investment continues at the International Advanced Manufacturing Park and Hillthorne Business Park. The development of the country's first large-scale gigafactory by AESC UK, alongside ongoing investment by Nissan and global supply chain businesses such as Kasai, is key to creating a safeguard of thousands of highly skilled jobs and ensuring Sunderland's position and reputation as an international leader in advanced manufacturing continues to be strengthened. Mr Mayor, these developments send a powerful message. Sunderland is the place to do business across a wide range of sectors, from advanced manufacturing to healthcare, professional and business services, to the creative and digital industries and everything else in between. Importantly, our regeneration work also extends in our communities. I mentioned Sunnyside a little earlier, and investment continues with the delivery of the Sunnyside Place strategy, supporting improved homes, new workspaces and enhanced safety, and inspiring local residents and businesses to fulfil their incredible potential. The Council's commitment to the Sunnyside Leisure Scheme has seen significant investment by Omniplex to create the North East's leading cinema offer. The new Nyland Villiers community will deliver modern, energy-efficient, low-carbon homes that support the city's low-carbon ambitions and help residents manage energy costs. Mr Mayor, housing delivery remains a central priority. We continue to work closely with Redchester providers, provide developers and government partners to bring forward high-quality and affordable homes across the city. These homes are essential to support population growth, attract and retain talent, and ensure that residents have access to sustainable, well-connected communities. As we continue to deliver major regeneration schemes, we also support local businesses through a range of growth programmes, targeted grants and inward investment support. As I've already said, Sunderland is the place to do business, and new employers continue to choose us because we provide the right infrastructure, the right partnerships and the right environment for businesses to flourish. Mr Mayor, despite the financial pressure facing councils across the country, this budget continues to prioritise investment in our city's growth. It supports regeneration at scale, drives job creation, enhances our housing offer and ensures that the benefits of social and economic development are felt right across all of our communities. And with that, Mr Mayor, I wholeheartedly commend the 2026-27 Revenue Budget and Capital Programme to Council. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Johnston. Next, we will deal with amendments to the budget proposals that were moved by the leader. Notice has been received of the proposed amendments and all council members have been sent a copy. I would remind council that a recorded vote will be taken on each amendment and then a single vote on the substantive motion. We will deal with the majority opposition group's amendment first. I have agreed to a small correction being made to the Liberal Democrat group's amendment in the capital spending section, which is shown in italics on the screens. Councillor Edgeworth, will you please move the proposals in your group's amendment to the revenue and capital budget by reading them out?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks for agreeing the typographical change. I'll start with the revenue budget and our revenue savings in this Liberal Democrats group amendment. We will reduce the support costs for area committees linked to reduction in the number of area committees from 5 to 3 for £69,221. Reducing number of area committees to 3 committees and 3 neighbourhood boards, giving a saving of 2 chairs and 2 vice chairs, £33,254. Reduction and scrapping of councillor allowances and expenses. Remove the 2025-26 increase in basic allowance and then 5% reduction. 20% reduction in leader, deputy leader, cabinet member SRAs. 20% reduction in opposition party leader SRAs. Reduce SRA for chair of scrutiny coordinating committee to the same as chairs of thematic scrutiny committees. 20% reduction in SRAs for chairs of thematic scrutiny committees, area committees, planning and highways committee, licensing and regulatory committee. Abolition of all vice chair SRAs. 20% reduction in SRAs for audit and governance committee chair and independent members. Abolish positions of mayor and deputy mayor and associated SRAs and replace with unpaid elected chairperson. Change travel allowances policy so expenses can only be claimed when travelling outside of the North East region. Abolish all provision for subsistence claims and abolish all provision for reimbursement of broadband and telephone costs, saving £194,562. Remove the corporate communications budget, including retainers with Creo Communications and Different Narrative, saving £734,314. Scrap the resident survey and resident newsletter, saving £137,070. Remove budget for carbon reduction, saving £382,451. Introduce a full paperless system for meeting agendas and documents, unless there is an accessibility issue which requires hard copy documents as a reasonable adjustment, saving £18,000. End use of council vehicles for travel for the mayor, deputy mayor, cabinet members and councillors, saving £33,735. Scrap the mayor's hospitality budget, including provision of alcohol cellar and providing free food to guests, saving £3,835. Scrap the foreign travel budget and prohibit internal flights for council staff and elected members when travelling within the United Kingdom, except for business travel to and from the north of Ireland, saving £29,519. End free parking for councillors at St Mary's car park, saving £8,500. Stop all funding and sponsorship for award ceremonies, both hosted and attended by the council, saving £30,750. Cancel subscriptions to the following membership organisations: Cooperative Councils Innovation Network, Industrial Communities Alliance, Key Cities, Local Government Information Unit, New Local Government Network, Healthy Cities Network, saving £59,681. Offer the top floor of City Hall out for lease by an external organisation at market rates, including all majority group offices, reallocating the spare room to the majority party. Also including renting out the Leader's Office, Deputy Leader's Office, Cabinet Offices and Mayor's Office. Increase fixed penalty charges for fly tipping to £1,000, saving £20,650. Increase household waste duty of care breaches, fixed penalty notices to £500 on second or third breach for £3,100. Scrap the member support budget for £59,659. Scrap Japan-American funding for £33,481, saving £1,851,782. With that money, we propose spending as follows: reducing Labour's council tax increase by 0.868%, £1,203,854. employ additional environmental services staff, 1 environmental enforcement officer and 1 antisocial behaviour officer. Employ 1 grade 4 full-time equivalent dog warden officer. Reversed planned increases in allotment rent charges for 2026-27. Create a large household waste bin fund comprising 140 360-litre household waste bins for households that require them. Reverse the 2026-27 brown bin tax increase. Reinstate free after 3 parking in all city centre car parks it previously applied to. Introduce free after 3 parking in the Riverside multi-storey parking. Employ 1 full-time traffic warden allocated specifically to the following areas: Sea Road, Fulwell Road, Southwick Village Green, Hilton Road, Durham Road, Chester Road and surrounding streets. Employ 1 full-time equivalent park warden allocated to the following areas: Doxford Park, Margaret Thompson Park, Barnes Park Extension. Hire 2 new cleansing employees and 1 van on a 5/7 shift rota to provide weekend fly tipping, litter, overflowing bin responsive service to improve cleansing across the city. Hire a graffiti cleansing crew and source appropriate equipment to operate solely outside of the city centre, complementing city centre crew, and ensure equipped to deal with the most stubborn graffiti. A grit bin fund providing 5 160-litre grit bins for ward councillors to allocate in the following wards: Barnes and Thornhill, Deptford and Hendon, Doxford Park, Fulwell, the Best Ward, Grindon and Thorney Close, Pallion and Ford, Pennywell and South Hilton and Roker. And a litter bin fund providing 5 120-litre bins for ward councillors to allocate in the following wards: Barnes and Thornhill, Deptford and Hendon, Doxford Park, Fulwell, Grindon and Thorney Close, Pallion and Ford, Pennywell and South Hilton and Roker. And with that, it seems our revenue budget has livened up this meeting somewhat. So I'll move on to our capital budget, where more goodies await. Capital savings: reallocate the Washington F-Pit Heritage Visitor Centre and Albany Park improvements, saving £3
One
million.
second, Councillor Edgeworth. Labour councillors, you have to be fair. The opposition sat through about an hour of our cabinet speaking. So
Deserve medals.
I understand there will be some umming and there will be some umming and ahhing, but we will let Councillor Edgeworth speak because I can't hear him at sometimes, and I'm sure his residents want to hear him. Thank you, Councillor Edgeworth. Sorry for interrupting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll start again, just in case people didn't hear that. Start again from the capital budget. Part 2, savings: reallocate the Washington F-Pit Heritage Visitor Centre and Albany Park improvements for £3.863 million. Sale of the Mayor and Deputy Mayor's chain, ceremonial race, ceremonial robes, Chief Executive's wig and OGR1 number plate, saving £410,100. Total capital savings, £4,273,100. With which we will allocate as follows: a feasibility study into acquisition of a public park in the Ford/Pennywell area, installation of a permanent enforcement camera to prevent and issue fines for illegal parking on Ebden Lane in Fulwell, install a pelican crossing at the Front Road Fordfield Road junction, install a pelican crossing at Springwell Road near Springwell Medical Centre, install 2 chicanes on West Moor Road, install 2 chicanes on Midmoor Road to slow traffic, repaint railings and lampposts on St Luke's Terrace, establish a bus shelters fund to provide 5 new bus shelters for ward councillors to allocate in the following wards: Barnes and Thornhill, Deptford and Hendon, Doxford Park, Fulwell, the Best Ward, Grindon and Thorney Close, Pallion and Ford, Pennywell and South Hilton and Roker. Upgrade Chester, Springwell, Holborn Road roundabout to traffic light controlled junction. Amend the layouts of junctions of Toronto Road, Telford Road, Thanet Road, Telford Road and Truro Road, Thorndale Road in Thorney Close. Install fencing and barriers at the entrances of Stirling Close into the Barnes Park extension. Install fencing along the boundary with Hastings Hill Farm from North Farm Avenue along Tetness Close, Tilbury Road and down to Summer Hill. Installation of bollards on the pavement outside Hastings Hill shops. Vehicle-activated sign fund, providing 3 vehicle-activated signs for ward councillors to allocate in the following wards. Barnes and Thornhill, Deptford and Hendon, Doxford Park, Fulwell, the Best Ward, Grindon and Thorney Close, Pallion and Ford, Pennywell and South Hilton, Roker. Installation of double yellow line waiting restrictions at the junction of Sevenoaks Drive and Chester Road, the A183. Street Lighting Improvement Fund, providing funding for 10 additional lighting columns for ward councillors in the following wards to allocate in order to make strategic improvements. 1. Barnes and Thornhill. 2. Deptford and Hendon. 3. Doxford Park. 4. Fulwell. 5. The Best Ward, Grindon and Thorney Close. 6. Pallion and Ford. 7. Pennywell and South Hilton. 8. Roker. A dropped curbs fund, providing funding for 10 sets of dropped curbs for ward councillors in the following wards to allocate. Barnes and Thornhill, Deptford and Hendon, Doxford Park, Fulwell, the Best Ward, Grindon and Thorney Close, Pallion and Ford, Pennywell and South Hilton, Roker. The installation of bollards on the pavement outside the shops on Chester Road between Sawley Street and Hilton Street and between Cooperative Terrace and Stewart Street to prevent pavement parking. Install bollards and railings to go around the junction of Midmoor Road and St Luke's Terrace to prevent parking obstructing the flow of traffic. And additional funding to road and pavement repairs.
Thank you, Councillor Edgeworth. Councillor Fagan, do you wish to second the amendment?
I'll second the amendment, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Edgeworth, do you wish to speak on your amendment?
I do, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I hope you'll look kindly on procedural 15.7.7c, which states that the first speaker for the main opposition group, when they speak for the first time in a budget meeting, may speak for up to 20 minutes each. I know
That's acknowledged.
The thousands of people watching at home will want to hear at great length and in great detail about how great this Liberal Democrat budget amendment is. So here it is. All your favourites from previous Lib Dem budgets are alive and well, but this time with even more wasteful spending axed and even more projects for Labour councillors to vote down, creating even more headlines in Focus, the most trusted news source in Sunderland. As always, Liberal Democrats are fighting for common sense, fighting to cut wasteful spending, to reduce the burden on our residents and to deliver better value for money for local council taxpayers. To finally make things happen that the residents we represent have been crying out for and that this Labour councillor has failed to deliver for 50 years. This is, once again, a budget amendment to make Sunderland great again. Let's look at our revenue savings and our revenue amendment, saving money and axing Labour's wasteful spending. We are, once again, as we like to do, giving Labour councillors an opportunity to do the right thing and finally make significant cuts to the outrageous expenses and allowances regime at this council. The prolific use of taxpayer money to buy off critics and keep discipline within the Labour group must end. That's why we're proposing a sensible cut to the basic allowance, a 20% reduction in all special mobility allowances, and the axing of a lot of allowances for roles which we don't think deserve them. We will abolish the positions of mayor and deputy mayor and the allowances that go with them, and that is not a reflection of the incumbents of those positions, who I happen to like, replacing with a sensible, unpaid, elected chairperson who does not require a chain, a robe or chauffeuring around the city. Liberal Democrats will axe the ability for councillors to claim food and travel expenses. In the real world, people's employers don't pay for them to get to and from work or pay for their meals. We will end the shameful double dipping where councillors who are already in receipt of an allowance to cover costs associated with the role top up via the taxpayer for home broadband and telephone costs. This is outrageous and should be stopped. Lib Dems thinks it's indefensible that councillors get free parking in St Mary's car park when staff at this council and the residents we serve do not. I think this sums up the arrogance of Labour councillors who think it's acceptable for them to get special treatment funded by the taxpayer. Again, nobody's employer pays for their parking if they choose to drive to work. This is a ridiculous taxpayer subsidy for Labour councillors and should end. Liberal Democrats will slash the communications budget. Any political party worth their salt can communicate what they're doing and achieving through a series of trusted, independent, factual and much anticipated local focused newsletters and shouldn't have to rely on hundreds of thousands of taxpayers' cash to fund their propaganda. The resident survey tells us nothing new. Any councillor worth their salt who speaks to residents will know what residents are concerned about. The survey is a waste of money and should be scrapped. We will increase penalties for those who plague our streets and back lanes with fly tipping, litter and overflowing bins. We will also end funding self-congratulatory award ceremonies and subscriptions to organisations. We are challenging Labour to go further by finding more external funding for carbon reduction measures. In the council's budgets, there's always some Liberal Democrat proposals from past which get stolen and adopted by Labour, who try and pass them off as their own. So in recent years, we've seen free pest control, free bulky waste collections and free replacement wheelie bins, great Lib Dem wins for the residents across Sunderland, Washington, Houghton and Hetton. And this year, I see Labour have stolen our long-standing budget amendment on reducing the carbon reduction budget. I would say that next year, Labour can steal our policy of moving them out of the majority party offices, but I suspect that may well be imposed upon them by the voters in May. Turning to our revenue spending, Liberal Democrats are focusing on improving services that our residents need and demand. Basic services at this council aren't good enough. Local residents and Lib Dem councillors want the council to focus on getting these services right and improving our communities, making sure that people feel like they're getting value for money from council services. So that's why, as well as reducing Labour's council tax increases, we would deliver more enforcement officers, more dog wardens, new park wardens, extra traffic wardens, new cleansing employees and a dedicated graffiti removal crew. This is the Lib Dem plan to make the communities we represent and seek to represent cleaner, greener and safer. Liberal Democrats will also deliver a fairer deal for residents by reversing increases in allotment rent charges and hikes to Labour's brown bin tax. And we'll bring back the popular free after 3 city centre parking offer. We'll also deliver extra grip bins, more litter bins and bigger wheelie bins for those households that need them. Moving on to our excellent capital budget amendment, you'll be delighted to see that our fire sale of assets now extends to the Deputy Mayor's chains and ceremonial robes, alongside the old favourite of Patrick's wig, along with other ceremonial costume and finery. This guff only serves to alienate people from the political process and the politicians and officers that are here to serve the public. Let's get them sold and just dress normally. Thankfully for the author of Focus newsletters, the FPIP budget still hasn't been spent, and so we have another year of reallocating it to the priorities of the residents we represent, including new bus shelters, speeding signs, dropped curbs and street lighting. We'll go over and above Labour's plans for road resurfacing by allocating an additional £1.2 million for desperately needed improvements. This may come to as news to Labour councillors opposite, but you're actually meant to represent people who elected you, and so we make no apologies for presenting plans here that deliver on the priorities of people in wards represented by me and my Liberal Democrat colleagues. I'll leave it to others in our group to speak, hopefully at length, about the projects in their own areas, but as councillor for the best ward, Grindon and Thorney Close, I will touch on some of the proposals in that area. Local people across Grindon, Springwell and Thorney Close who use Springwell Medical Centre have immense difficulty getting to Springwell Medical Centre. No buses stop directly outside it. There's a big dual carriageway between the nearest bus stop and the centre itself, and the road is busier than ever since the opening of the Northern Spire Bridge. This council tells people they can simply walk down the road and cross over at Liddell, but that's too far for a lot of older and disabled people, and that's why we're proposing a safe pedestrian crossing outside Springwell Medical Centre. Everyone's favourite cabinet member, Lindsay Leonard, agreed to the Lib Dem campaign for a pedestrian crossing at Hastings Hill Roundabout, for which we are eternally grateful. And if she could do the same for Springwell Road, then we'd love her even more. This amendment would also install new fences and barriers at the entrances to Stirling Close from the Barnes Park extension. This is a hotspot for motorcycle crime and disorder, and new fences and gates are desperately needed to stop the whole Broadway estate being used as a cut-through for these off-road bikes. We also want to do what the council won't do and finish the job for North Farm Estate and the top end of Thorney Close by finally fencing off the boundary between the Sandhills and the Hastings Hill Farm to stop this area being used and abused by motorbikes, cars and vans driving over it on an almost daily basis. Liberal Democrats, through this amendment, would also make Hastings Hill Estate safer by finally installing bollards on the corner outside Seven Oaks Drive shops and install double yellow lines outside the Hastings Hill pub, where inconsiderate drivers constantly park and block access in and out of the estate. And we'd also make roads in Thorney Close safer by amending the confusing layouts of Thorndale Road and Telford Road, which have led to many near misses in recent months and years. So I won't speak any more about our amendment, but finally, just can I say a big thanks from me and Heather Fagan and the entire Liberal Democrats group to Claire Emerson and Paul Wilson for all their help, support, patience and good humour throughout the budget amendment process. It's always much appreciated. This budget amendment is about fairness, it's about stopping waste, it's about making communities safe again, clean again, more affordable again. And I urge all colleagues to vote for this moderate, reasonable, sensible, pragmatic and common sense budget amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Edgeworth. Councillor Fagan, would you like to speak to the amendment?
I'm fine, thank you. I think Paul's covered it pretty well, thanks.
I have been advised that the following councillors wish to speak on the amendment. Councillors Walton, Haswell, Duncan, O'Brien, Gibson and Hartnack. Is that correct? Councillor Mullen. And Councillor Mullen. Does anyone else wish to speak on the amendment? If so, would members please indicate accordingly? Councillor Lindsay Leonard.
So, Mr Mayor, the speakers are councillors Walton, Haswell, Donkin, O'Brien, Gibson, Hartnack, Mullen, Leonard, Dagg, Laws, Jones, and there is a right of reply to the leader.
Councillor Walton.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to speak in support of one aspect of our Liberal Democrat budget amendment on revenue spending. That's to increase the complement for traffic wardens, traffic enforcement officers by one full-time equivalent. And just to repeat, with that post to be focused on Sea Road, Fulwell Road, Southwick Village Green, Hilton Road, Durham Road, Chester Road and surrounding streets. I just want to focus on my own ward, Fulwell Ward, Mr Mayor. Anyone lucky enough to have visited our ward recently may have noticed some new parking restrictions. New yellow no parking lines near the junction of Torver Crescent and Dovedale Road. Similar improvements on Bampton Avenue. And very importantly, no stopping markings at the Bluebell junction to stop vehicles parking on the pavement. Mr Mayor, all these restrictions and improvements have followed extensive meetings by myself and my esteemed colleague Malcolm Bond with responsible officers, traffic enforcement officers, also the whole of our Fulwell focused team. And we had these meetings in response to regular and widespread concerns raised by residents with us about parking in Fulwell Ward. Important as these restrictions are, Mr Mayor, all colleagues will know that these restrictions are most effective when complemented by regular patrols and traffic enforcement. And currently, the team is not sufficient to cover the whole of Sunderland. Hence, our request to spend more money on this team. And in doing so, I'd ask the Council and fellow members to increase the budget in a way that actually meets the needs and the concerns of residents. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Walton. Councillor Haswell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I do quite enjoy the budget setting process because it's a little bit like Christmas. When you're little, you write out a Christmas card list, you send it off to Santa and hope to God everything comes on Christmas morning. Except for us, we write out the Liberal Democrat budget amendment. We wait a year very patiently and see what's been borrowed by the Labour group and appears. We always ensure you've got a budget amendment packed full of great ideas, fully costed and focused on making lives better for the residents of the city. And as I say, we do patiently wait and find out, right, what are we going to get? I'm thinking back to some of the greatest hits. Paul's mentioned them. Solid Liberal Democrat successes, like bringing back the litter pickers and the cleansing team, free bulky waste collections again, free pest control, and the replacement wheelie bins when yours is stolen or set on fire. It is truly a marvellous process to watch, and I don't mind for one seeing our ideas being borrowed. It's always interesting because we get to hear the murmurings in the Labour group of what might be nicked next year, because why can't we just do that? And it's not a threat because it will appear on that most trusted community newsletter, Focus, which we will get out faster than everybody else. This year, I appreciate it might be a little bit different. Labour group are facing a tough time in May, potential total wipeout. So the question is, will the next lot in charge be stealing our ideas as well and continue the tradition? And these are excellent ideas, like increasing the fixed penalty charges for fly tipping, really creating that disincentive to tackle the fly tippers who are plaguing parts of our city. And the challenge we face is when we raise it sometimes, not necessarily with the members opposite, because they face the same challenge, but with offers and told, no, it's the place is tight, the place is clean, but come to areas of the city like Pallion, like Barnes, like Southwick, like Hendon, where we are battling fly tippers on a daily basis. Scrapping foreign travel for councillors and council staff. Why should those be getting paid travel while many of our residents can't afford a holiday? Ending free parking for councillors in St Mary's and bringing back free after 3. Excellent idea, which is going to be welcomed by many. We want to introduce the team to tackle the most stubborn graffiti outside of the city centre. We know there's a good responsive service in the city centre, but outside, in some of the toughest areas of the city, we wait months and months for graffiti, some of it really quite offensive, to get shifted. It's not on, and it's about time we get an equal and a fair deal. A permanent weekend cleansing response team. It is being experimented with between the Western Washington Area Committee. It should be something permanent because fly tipping and bins overflow 7 days a week, not just Monday to Friday. We want to get serious about dog fouling. I've previously banged on at Cemetery Improvement Board and asked questions of Councillor Leonard about Bishop Wearmouth Cemetery, and we still have a dog fouling problem there. We need to get some wardens in there and a dedicated service. Our changes aren't necessarily always drastic measures and don't break the bank. They're fully funded through cutting waste and largesse and scrapping some of the swanky awards dues and foreign travel. Things which residents would back almost every time, and the focus on the outcomes that residents want for the city, not what councillors just seem to think looks after them. I, for one, look forward to many of ideas being pinched and appearing in the budget next year, and certainly appearing in a Focus community newsletter. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Donkin, last I seen you, you were handing me one of those newsletters, weren't you?
And you read it cover to cover, I seem to recall. Oh, he loved it. He absolutely loved it. No, I was introduced to a resident by the Mayor, so I'm very grateful. I want to take a little bit of a more serious tone, in that what we would like to see in terms of infrastructure and transport. We've had a particular problem, and this isn't something that sits within my ward. It sits in Michael's ward as well. It sits in a lot of wards. We've got a problem with buses. We have a bus improvement programme that doesn't improve buses. We've had, in the last 12 months, 6 buses in Sunderland that have been reduced. I say reduced, I can't actually say that because they haven't said that they've been reduced in capacity, but they haven't said they've increased in capacity. So I'm going to draw a conclusion from that. So what we want to see is an improvement in the infrastructure that actually sits within the town centre. We have buses travelling backwards and forwards. Cars are a lot larger. People park very, very badly around our streets, St Luke's Terrace, Chester Road, Hilton Road. All of those things get in the way of buses. And as a result of that, we then get the bus company, Stagecoach, saying, well, actually, we're going to have to reduce the services. Over the last 3 years, the 10 and 11 bus, which extends to Michael's ward and extends through all of the most deprived areas, and the other ones, all of the deprived areas, Pallion, Redhill, Southwick, Millfield, Sandhill and Hendon, all have had bus changes by Stagecoach. And that's great. That's great because we do nothing to actually influence them. It seems nothing because the residents have now got to walk up Fordfield Road to get to the bus with a Zimmer frame. They don't have the capacity to have taxis. They don't have the capacity to have buses. So I'd like to see some big changes, and that's what we're proposing. I think it's time that we managed to lean a little bit harder on our colleagues in Stagecoach rather than leaning on the voluntary sector to do things that the council wants. Thanks very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Stephen O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, or shall I say incoming chair of the council. I've got nothing else to add, actually, other than to... Actually, no, I do have something to add now. Who said sit down? I'm going to have a long rant about the Labour Party in a minute. No, but in all seriousness, I think Paul's highlighted everything in Sandhill, which is a great budget, a commendable budget, a budget of our time. Lloyd George would be proud.
Councillor Gibson.
I commend the budget put forward by Councillor Edgeworth, in particular insofar as it affects the offices of the Mayor, the Deputy Mayor and the Chief Executive. I'd like to say at this stage, what I'm about to say is in no way an attack on either yourself, your esteemed Deputy or the Chief Executive or any of their illustrious predecessors. I believe the savings which should be achieved through the sale of ceremonial robes and objects are certainly very, very real and has been reflected in Councillor Edgeworth's speech. But beyond that, I think we have to look at these ceremonial objects in the sense of institutions. And institutions can have a profound effect on the economic background. Maybe not apparent, but very, very real beneath the surface. Many people will have absolutely no idea where the mace originated, the ceremonial robes, the insignia, etc., things which go back beyond the English Civil War, right back into the Middle Ages, when the suffrage was limited to between 1% and 2% of the population. And I believe it's important that we try and connect the general bulk of the population with our institutions more and more and more. And I believe the objects in question represent a barrier to it. And removing those barriers, I believe, will be a stimulus to local democracy and through that the local economy. So I strongly support the motions relating to these institutions. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Gibson. Councillor Hartnack.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Other than the noted comical aspects of the Lib Dem alternative budget proposal, there is otherwise much to applaud their proposals this year. At least we all now know where the Lib Dem target seats are, which is useful. Okay. Lost words. So, unlike Labour, both the Liberals and Conservatives have cut spending on vanity projects, along with the wasteful distribution of political propaganda material provided to households in a printed format and which has been out of date when delivered and at huge cost, only to promote that which Labour claims to be good news and which largely the public has no interest in, creating yet more waste for the council to deal with, as most people tell us on the doorsteps, it goes straight in the bin alongside that most reliable letter of lies, the Lib Dem Focus newsletter. So well done, Lib Dems and Conservatives, for challenging this waste and providing a significant saving opportunity for hard-pressed council taxpayers. Now, I'm also keen to note that a potential solution to the parking problems in Ebden Lane, near to Forwell Infant Academy, has also been suggested by the Liberals by the installation of a fixed camera to identify and punish illegal parking at school times and beyond. And I continue to support this proposal, as Forwell Conservatives have pushed for exactly the same over the past few years. A fixed camera in Ebden Lane, along with a Conservative proposed school streets pilot scheme, will without doubt resolve the serious traffic and safety problems encountered on a daily basis at this location. Now, whilst the effectiveness of wardens on Sea Road to deal with parking offences has been woefully inadequate, despite numerous reasonable requests to the Council, a citywide strategy to recruit, retain and deploy wardens more effectively really does need to be developed. There is no reason whatsoever why dedicated wardens to problematic areas such as Sea Road cannot be established. If there's a problem recruiting such people, then perhaps consideration needs to be given to removing market supplement payments for senior executives and target them towards those providing front-facing services to the public, in this instance, to enforcement wardens across the city. As Conservatives, of course, we have included within our alternative budget 5 additional dedicated wardens across the city, one of which we agree should be included for Sea Road. We will be supporting and voting for the Lib Dem proposals in this instance. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Harlock. Councillor Mullen.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. When I wore your ceremonial chains last week, I hadn't appreciated the extent to which they were holding back the local economy. So I'm grateful to Councillor Gibson for enlightening us. There are lots of things to welcome in this budget amendment, and it's good to see many historic Conservative proposals have influenced contemporary Lib Dem thinking. One particular roundabout comes to mind. Increasing fixed penalty charges for fly tipping to £1,000 is an excellent idea, and it's something that the Council should consider doing regardless of this amendment. Having just reported this morning a mattress and a Christmas tree dumped in the middle of the same street, it definitely seems like tougher deterrence is needed. Free parking in the city centre is obviously a good idea on which we agree and one which supports business, though it does somewhat negate the spending reduction on parking for councillors in St Mary's, because I imagine that most of this cost is accrued in the evening anyway, and you would just be giving it free by another means, and that would be a loss of that saving. As well as being a funny point, there is a serious point about the group rooms in City Hall. When in 2021 we had 19 councillors, we were provided a room that was fit for 3 people. And if the Labour group ends up in one of those rooms after next year's elections and finds it's not suitable for them, then they'll only have to go back to what we were told, which was tough, put up with it, and have no alternative to that. I obviously can't pass over the opportunity to comment on Chester Road. The proposal for bollards or railings to prevent illegal parking is a good idea. That's why one of the 3 wards covering Chester Road has funded these, and I invite the Lib Dem councillors for Pallion and Millfield to join us in giving some of your ward money to continue the railings down Chester Road. That project is ongoing, so it's not too late. The problem here obviously is urgent, and railings or bollards or whatever it is alone won't solve that. There also needs to be double red lines with cameras to be able to enforce this outside of the hours that traffic wardens work. There are, I have to say, some exceptions to these congratulations, though. We've just had a review of our area committees, during which time I don't think the Lib Dems did propose reducing from 5 to 3 committees. There's nothing here to support the campaign to protect the Glass Centre. The council increase could have been lower. The amount spent on roads could have been higher. And of course, as ever, it's Northern Ireland.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mullen. Councillor Leonard.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm just furiously adjusting some notes here, so I want to start and say, unfortunately, Councillor Donkin is right. We do have a deregulated bus service, which means we have little influence, which, I agree is frustrating. But it seems the route change for the number 10 has focused his mind, and it's a pity that his mind wasn't focused when he and his ward colleague failed to respond to concerns by Stagecoach in August and September about traffic congestion leading to the rerouting of the route.
Point of personal clarification, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Haswell.
I'd just encourage Councillor Leonard to perhaps withdraw that or consider rephrasing. I did respond directly to Stagecoach on a number of occasions, Councillor Donkin, and I also had meetings with the highways team and the parking team in St Luke's Road, specifically discussing congestion and parking around the junction with Midmoor Road. We were firmly pushed back for any changes by the highways team. The parking team did clarify they would do some patrols. They were when they had people available, so we were very much made to be second class to the city centre, and the responses from Stagecoach about arranging a meeting were woeful. So I'd appreciate you may not be aware of that information, just an opportunity to perhaps rephrase your comments there. Thank you.
Councillor Leonard.
Thank you. I'm just talking about the information I received directly from Stagecoach, which is emails that you haven't responded to. So I will go and clarify that, but that's the information I've got at the time. So that led to the rerouting. In terms of the school streets, ward councillors were informed in September, I think, about suitable sites. All councillors were informed as to whether school streets were suitable and why they hadn't been taken forward. And unfortunately, Fulwell Infants is part of that site, but I know you've got an email that's come today that clarifies that for you, if you don't mind. Let me just get my notes. So yeah, I wanted, before the other speakers, I did want to comment because a lot of this extra spending falls within my portfolio. So, and I could debate from experience about the effectiveness of increasing fines and the issues with collecting them, the fact that we're encouraging recycling and not decreasing general waste, so we don't really want bigger bins, and the ongoing issue of filling and maintaining grip bins, but I won't. But what is glaringly obvious in this amendment, it just delivers nothing for the Coalfields or Washington again. It focuses on their own wards with some addition, which leads me to my final and most important point, and that is that I hope it's delivered with the same comedic intention that the Lib Dem amendment has obviously been written and presented by. But Ryhope is completely left off from the city central area. All these wards that you're going to put all these things in, and I'm particularly disappointed that, you know, I have delivered you a surface level crossing at Hastings Hill, replacing the subway. I thought we were friends and that the favour will be returned. So it is on that basis and that basis only that I will not be supporting this amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Leonard. Councillor Lindag.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want a couple of points really. The first one is the reduction in the carbon budget. The carbon making, you know, I thought we were all kind of on the same page here about green issues and things like that. But actually, sort of reducing the carbon budget makes no sense to me. We want. Well, yeah, but not in this form. Anyway, it's okay. It's removing a budget. It's not reducing a budget, it's removing it. And I think we actually need to make sure that we actually are focused on green issues at this time. And the second issue is with regard to Washington, where you're taking 3 million out of Washington and actually placing it in wards that you're seeking to actually win. And I cannot understand that is anything to do with the future of this city. This city is about all the wards in the city, not just anything other than Washington. Can I actually urge you to really consider that? That's the only 2 points I want to make. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Excuse me. Wait, you can't have your own little meeting here, are we? Councillor Sean Laws.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, Councillor Edgeworth was speaking in his budget amendment, and he mentioned Lib Dem amendments of the past, and I found myself having to stand up to say the same things that I've said at budget amendments of the past, which is, initially I was concerned that there was no mention of Washington. That, of course, then turned into Lib Dems remembering that Washington existed so they could take money out of it. I can say that I am as frustrated that the F-pit isn't there as much as anybody else. But the F-pit is more than just an F-pit in an old museum. It's a park and a visitor centre and about investing into Washington and doing something for the people in Washington. So it's disappointing to see that is something that you intend to take out. I have to assume that it won't be something that goes into any leaflets that will be going into Washington. I assume there won't be a great deal of those coming our way over there. Because the only involvement of Washington, it seems, is the fire sale of assets that the minority party's first female leader would be proud of. But there we are. I felt that the fire sale of assets that you're talking about, of council assets, I suggested that the first female leader of the minority party, I refuse to mention her name, would be proud of it. I stood because I felt that it was important that Washington should be mentioned, and it should be mentioned positively rather than just about cuts, which is what's in the amendment. Clearly, I won't be supporting it. The only final point that I would like to make is I'm proud to have been born in Belfast in the north of Ireland. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rose. Councillor Beth Jones.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor, and I never thought I'd say this, but thank you, Councillor Mullen, for raising the point about area committees, because on no occasion did Councillor Edgeworth mention a reduction in area committees. He was actually in favour of increasing them from the conversations we had. True? Yeah. But I think, you know, from I think one thing's very clear tonight. I think listening to Councillor Hartnack speaking in favour of your amendment genuinely, to me, reaffirms that you are two cheeks of the same. So I cannot support this biased and self-serving motion. It's very clear that the Lib Democrats don't care about other wards than the ones they serve or the ones they intend to stand in. And the proposals tonight are nothing more than a gimmick to get votes at the ballot box. Yet again, as colleagues behind me have mentioned, you tried to shaft Washington, removing the budget from the FPIT. Only a few weeks ago, I was in economic scrutiny with your colleagues where they were provided with an update about the FPIT, and that work will begin beginning imminently. True?
Point of clarification, Mayor. What Councillor Jones says is absolutely correct. We didn't believe it the year before, and we didn't believe it the year before that either.
Councillor Duncan, you weren't a councillor the year before, so... And could you please stand up when you speak in the future?
Will do.
Right,
so,
councillors, please address me. Don't have a go at each other.
So I just think this amendment, it just lacks any ambition, lacks any imagination. Was it predictable for your own political agenda? Yes. And I think instead of calling you the yellow Tories, I think I'm going to start calling you the biased beige Tories instead. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Jones. Leader, you have the right of reply.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. And first of all, can I thank members on both sides of the chamber for a well-natured debate. I've thoroughly enjoyed listening to it, even though the vast majority of the Lib Dem amendment is a copy and paste job from previous years that I'll not repeat rebuttals in previous years. There is a few things I do want to pull out and just clarify a few things, Mr Mayor. First of all, in relation to Councillor Dagg's point around the carbon reduction budget, and I've said this previously at Council, we are not reducing the amount we spend on carbon reduction activities. We're just substituting internal money for external money. So the net amount that we spend will remain the same, and I just wish we had cross-party support for that work. It is ironic, Mr Mayor, that Councillor Edgeworth got up, moved an amendment about moving to a full paperless system by reading off a piece of paper. But we will we'll pass over that. I just want to touch on Councillor Duncan's point around the buses, and Councillor Leonard's touched on it. I am frustrated by the current bus system that we've got. We do have very little say in persuading the bus companies to amend, change and run buses and bus services in the interests of communities and not in profit. That's why I and this side of the chamber are fully supportive of Mayor Kim McGuinness's proposals to bring the buses back into public ownership in the combined authority, implement the Angel network so that communities, councillors can have a much greater say in the bus network that we run. We spend far too much public money subsidising private bus companies' profits, and that is finally going to come to end in the medium term. The other thing I just want to touch on, it mentions in the page 2, Amendment 2, capital budget, the ceremonial mace. I understand, Mr Mayor, that I think it's a legal requirement that we have to have the mace in the chamber for the proceedings of council, because it signifies the King's authority for us. So I wouldn't be in favour of selling off the family silver or gold in this case, Mr Mayor. I think it's important that we continue these long-serving traditions. We've had mayors of the city going back hundreds of years, and I hope to see them moving forward for many more years to come. The final thing I want to say in terms of the Liberals' amendment, Mr Mayor, is I am very disappointed that one of the, and I think Councillor Edgeworth called them self-congratulating awards ceremony, and Councillor Haswell calls them swanky awards do, and they specifically mentioned the Star Awards. We couldn't do half what we do in this council without the backing of our staff. Absolutely. The staff are fantastic. They work day in, day out, delivering the services to the residents of this city, and for you to begrudge the Chief Executive and the Council putting on an afternoon in this chamber to thank them for their tireless work, I think is shameful, and it just shows you your true belief in what the staff in this Council do for all of our residents. So on that part, Mr Mayor, I'd ask the Labour Group to vote against this short-sighted amendment. It shows that this Labour Group is a party that campaigns and supports the whole city. The Liberal Democrats are only interested in their own party political interests. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Modi. We will now vote on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So if the officer could open the vote and also ring the division bell, please. So this is a vote on the Liberal Democrat amendment to the budget proposals.
Mr Mayor,
Oh, yes, I've got it.
Councillor?
Yep. Your mic's on. Oh, your mic's on.
Could one of the officers please assist the councillor who's saying his device is not working? Or Councillor Ty saying you have to press enter meeting. Does that help? Yeah. It's worked. Okay. Thank you very much. Right, are you able to vote? Please vote.
So we'll close the vote now, members. There are 16 votes in favour and 38 against, so the amendment is defeated.
Thank you very much. Councillor Mullen, will you please move the amendment to the revenue and capital budget by reading it out?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll deal first with revenue and then subsequently capital. Reduce the neighbourhood fund budget allocation to area committees by £1 million. Reduction in corporate affairs and comms budget to include total reduction in spending on Creo comms and social media influencers, £868,710. Reduction in the events budget of £695,440. Reduction in the low carbon budget of £382,451. Cut to councillors' allowances of £173,214. Paperless model for agendas and magazines totalling £88,000. Reduction in member support budget of £50,000. Reduction in trade union facility time of £150,000. Ending chauffeur-driven cars for the Mayor and Labour Cabinet, £33,735. Abolish councillors' expenses budget, £35,000. Reduce the business and investment budget, including the total budget for Japan and America travel, £250,000. Reduction in the community and belonging budget of £1 million. Redirect the active Sunderland budget to pay for play park upgrades, £340,032. to then subsequently be spent on reducing Labour's council tax increase by 2.64%, £3,665,481, introduce free parking in the city centre based on a free after three scheme, £130,000, introduce free parking on Roker and Seaburn seafronts based on a free after three scheme, £140,000, make CPMS parking permits free to all residents at a cost of £122,200, implement 5 new school street schemes at a cost of £250,000, install 10 new shroud bins in wards with high volumes of litter to include Grangetown and Barnes and Thornhill at a cost of £4,670, introduce 5 new civil enforcement officers or traffic wardens, including one dedicated solely to the Chester Road area, £197,465, introduce 3 park and cemetery wardens costing £118,734, line Queen Alexandra Road, Chester Road, Dame Dorothy Street from Church Street North and Harbour View with the Union flag at a cost of £98,000, and a revenue transfer to capital to support the play park upgrades costing £340,032. And then within capital, delete the remaining FPIT budget costing £3,863,000, reduce the allocation for strategic acquisitions by £200,000, a transfer from revenue, which was £340,032, cancel the building decarbonisation programme, £775,000, cancel the City Gateway Screens programme, £154,000, and then spend those savings on increasing spending on road resurfacing and pavement and pothole repairs to include £1 million to be directed by area committees, costing £3,417,032. Replace the Broadway roundabout with traffic lights, costing £1 million. Introduce safe crossing points on Silksworth Lane, costing £300,000. Provision of capital grant to a third sector organisation, for example, Save the National Glass Centre, to support the purchase of the centre and the surrounding land, £200,000, and to build a new play park in Middle Harrington Park, £415,000. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Reid, do you second the amendment?
I second the amendment, Mr. Mayor, and I'd like to speak immediately after Councillor Mullen.
Councillor Mullen, would you like to speak to your amendment?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And can I begin by thanking Paul and Claire for the support that they provided us throughout the budget process, as they always do, and also take this opportunity to thank someone who used to help us, that is John Ritchie, on his move to Northumberland. Should he ever fancy coming back to Sunderland, there might well be a few traffic warden vacancies about to come up, and he'd be welcome to apply for them. Our budget amendment aims to invest more in the basics and outlines the kind of cost reduction measures that this council will have to contemplate in future years if it's to become less reliant upon reserves. We invest here over £3 million more in roads, something which is vital in every ward, including in Washington and Houghton, given the bad weather at the start of this year. £1 million of this is given to area committees to make sure that the area committee budget is the same overall, but increasing the amount available for councillors to spend on roads, potholes and pavements. Michael Hartnack will talk more about this in his speech, but we allocate money to begin negotiation to purchase the Glass Centre. To paraphrase what Sean Laws just said, the Glass Centre is more than just a glass centre. It's an art gallery, it's a museum, it's a restaurant, and if the FPIT matters in Washington, then the Glass Centre matters in Sunderland. We offer a range of free parking schemes, free parking in the city centre, free parking on the seafront, and removing the cost of CPMS parking permits in areas where they are live without taking away the restrictions. Residents who live in these areas are not the cause of the problems that occur, but the victims of that problem, and they shouldn't have to pay for the solution. Over the last year, and indeed in recent days, we've seen the grotesque vandalism and destruction in some of our parks. Barnes Park, for example, was subjected to horrific antisocial behaviour throughout last summer, and its toilets are routinely vandalised. Only recently, Roker Park has suffered a similar fate. Our proposal to introduce new park wardens will provide a continued presence in parks like these to help prevent this from happening again. Residents in part of the city throughout the last year have chosen to display the Union flag on lampposts, but in the time since, these have been uncared for and poorly maintained. The improper fixtures mean that some of these are now barely hanging on. The poor quality manufacture of the flag means that they're coming apart, and others have wrapped around the lampposts entirely. Our proposal is to take these down and to bring this scheme within the control of the council and to formalise it so that these are properly looked after, displayed and maintained over the long term rather than being allowed to become ragged. The Broadway roundabout remains the most hated in Sunderland. As in previous years, our proposal is to replace it with traffic lights and to install safe crossing points, which are also desperately needed. This is something that the council should consider regardless of the budget proposal, and particularly thanks to the efforts of all of those residents who stopped the inexplicable plans to add a bus lane to the Broadway running up to the A19, which would have simply made this area worse. Safe crossing points, I think Phil also just indicated, are also needed on Silksworth Lane. Residents in the vicinity of the proposed new retail park, which will feature M&S and others, will add new pressure to the roadwork. I've already submitted formally my concerns about the use of the roundabout as an entry point for the new site by vehicles, but whether planning permission is granted or not, Silksworth Lane in its present form is dangerous for pedestrians to cross, particularly people who are old, vulnerable or have pushchairs. And we offer all of this in conjunction with a lower increase in council tax than Labour, the Lib Dems or Reform in neighbouring Durham. It's an excellent budget amendment, which I now invite you all to criticise and then vote against. But I'd like to finish by returning to a point that Councillor Johnson made at the last council meeting when he talked about all parties in the chamber participating in our democracy. And you might not agree with the plans that other parties have set out or vote for them, but we at least have set out what those plans are. There is no Reform UK budget. Washington branch reform has suggested during the course of this meeting that it opposes £500 million of spending in the city centre, which betrays an ignorance about how the budget works and how government grants can and can't be used. If they plan to run the council from May, as a minimum, we should at least be told who their leader will be and what that person intends to do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mullen. Councillor Reid, you wanted to speak, is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. As has been previously mentioned, the LG, after their corporate review, made clear that savings needed to be made in Sunderland City Council. Sensible savings that look more like what we're proposing, not cutting frontline services needlessly, but cutting things that residents don't see the benefit from, such as taxpayer-funded flights to Japan and America. And whilst I was not here in the room, I was in spirit, and I heard what Councillor Haswell said, which is there are people in this city who can't afford to go on holiday. I don't think they'll like the fact that council officers have been, they can get across the Atlantic. I was talking to a resident the other day who can't cross Silksworth Lane properly because they're learning to walk again after being in a wheelchair. They're struggling to cross the road at Silksworth Lane, but taxpayers' money is going so that council officers can get across the Atlantic okay, and I don't think that's right. We're also paying, for some reason, as a council, for social media influencers. Are we really telling the people of Sunderland that we're going to tax them more so that we can spend money on TikTokers? See, I don't think that's a very good use of money. And of course, we cannot forget the fleet of chauffeur-driven cars for senior Labour councillors. 3 cars, always spotless, always gleaming in the car park in St Mary's, parking for free. And I do hope the Labour councillors being driven around in the taxpayer-funded fleet weren't too disturbed by the potholes that they undoubtedly drove over because of the state of our streets. Now, we come to our proposed cuts to the F-pit, which have already been covered, my favourite seemingly bottomless pit of money that this year sets us back nearly a cool £4 million. Mr. Mayor, we stand at the intersection of legacy or progress. I rise today not in disregard of history, but in defence of the future. The concept of saving the FPIT romanticises history. Oh, I'm sorry. That's paraphrasing what Councillor Jones said about the Glass Centre last year. I'm not too sure how that managed to get in there. Oh, I do apologise. I do apologise. But in a serious note, there's no money in this to properly save the National Glass Centre, but £4 million to save the FPIT. And as Councillor Laws pointed out, they are both more than what they seem. They are cultural assets for the area surrounds them. So what does it say about this council that they're investing £4 million in the FPIT and nothing in the National Glass Centre? I would make the argument that they're abandoning St Peter's in the city centre. But in seriousness, the hypocrisy is unparalleled. The FPIT, in some estimates online, was getting less than 10,000 visitors a year, and the Glass Centre, even on the lowest estimates, was around 80,000, and at its height, 200,000. So the value for money there isn't answerable to residents. We're also proposing cutting the 154,000 for giant screens all over roundabouts. Instead of investing in more litter bins or more grit bins or more street lighting, you are investing in something that residents have said they don't want and have in cases fought against, leading to what I'm sure was a massive waste of time and energy and costs to the council's planning department. We know that people are suffering in a cost of living crisis. Unemployment is set to be higher at the end of this year than it was during the pandemic. Why are we raising council tax by so much when we clearly don't have to right now? Why can't the council simply rein in spending in some areas? Why are we spending over £1 million on net zero projects, £868,000 on corporate affairs and comms, or nearly £100,000 on the council magazine and the paper agendas? Now, I have no doubt that in many of their speeches, Labour councils will attack our spending cuts. Labour will defend having 3 chauffeur-driven cars. Labour will defend flights to Japan and America. Labour will defend signs on roundabouts for some reason, instead of investing in more frontline services. But the people of Sunderland aren't asking for any of these things. They're asking for a break, to be blunt. They're asking for a break. We're in a cost of living crisis. And I think as a council, we shouldn't be adding even more onto people's bills. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I have been advised that the following councillors wish to speak on the amendment: Councillor Hartlock and Councillor Edgeworth. Does anyone else wish to speak? If so, please indicate accordingly.
Councillor Hodson. Councillor MacDonough.
Leonard.
Councillor Leonard. So, Mr. Mayor, the speakers are Councillors Hartnack, Edgeworth, Hodson, MacDonough, Leonard, and the leader has the right of reply.
Councillor Hartnack.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So another year has passed, and predictably, Labour have presented another budget full of waste and vanity projects, along with a not insignificant rise in council tax, payable by the hard-pressed residents of our city. Conservatives, on the other hand, have provided an alternative budget which is balanced and proportionate in respect of need and cuts out much of the waste which Labour are keen to pursue, like the marketing budget, which has already been suggested, provides for the spreading of Labour initiative political propaganda which residents, quite frankly, are sick of seeing and paying for. Half the information is of little interest or even out of date, and its use provides little benefit other than to increase recyclable waste figures for the council. Our alternative budget provides for a minimal rise in council tax, which is even better than reform in Durham, yet retaining all vital services to residents of the city. It's a matter of absolute scandal, and it hasn't been mentioned by my colleagues so far, that the Labour members on the other side of this chamber continue to support trade union facility time at a cost of £150,000. How can this possibly be right, that the council taxpayer effectively pays for union officials to work full-time at their expense when employees already pay their own union fees direct to the union? Thankfully, Sunderland Schools Forum has made the sensible decision this year to allow schools to make their own decisions as to whether or not they wish to contribute not insignificant sums of money to support full-time union officials. Sunderland Labour should be doing the same by removing this payment to their paymaster unions. We've included within our budget some financial provision to demonstrate a real commitment on the part of the council to saving the National Glass Centre. Unlike Labour, who have provided no financial consideration whatsoever, we've allocated £200,000 potentially to act as pump priming towards future funding of the National Glass Centre in conjunction with other partners locally, nationally and potentially internationally. This would be a starting point to demonstrate the commitment of this Council to save the National Glass Centre, and is a relatively modest sum to pay when compared to the £3.8 million allocated to Washington's largely unheard of FPIT Museum, which will attract a tiny proportion of visitors compared to the NGC. The FPIT Museum is a huge vanity project which is going to have to be subsidised by council taxpayers for years to come and simply needs to be stopped now. Why don't you ask the public what they would prefer, the FPIT or the National Glass Centre? I can guarantee that the response will be overwhelmingly favour the National Glass Centre, as 43,000 signatures to the petition has already proved. I've been reliably informed that at the recently convened Labour group meeting to discuss the future of the National Glass Centre, Roker councillor David Newey actually voted against saving the National Glass Centre. Yes, you heard it right. The Labour councillor for Roker, having been persuaded by MP Lewis Atkinson, has turned against the campaign group and now actively supports the demolition of the National Glass Centre. I do know, however, that others on the opposite side of the chamber passionately do support the NGC, and I would encourage you to continue with that stance. So my challenge to Labour is, instead of pretending to do all you can to save the NGC, when your leader, MP Lewis Atkinson, already have their hidden agenda tucked up their sleeve, put your money where your mouth is and do the decent thing and support the residents of Sunderland and beyond and actually actively save the NGC. I commend our alternative budget to the Chamber. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Point of order, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Phil Tighe.
Just a point of personal clarification, as Chair of the Labour Group, David Newey did not vote against the proposals to save the National Gas Centre. I do need to put that on public record. And I've got to say, Michael, you're not helping the case. You say that the campaign group are not here because they knew you were going to try and hijack their campaign, try to play political point scoring, hence they haven't come tonight to give you the opportunity to do that. You're still trying to do that. Stop playing these political games. And your colleagues know we're trying our best to try and come up with something to try and stop the university across party. Stop playing them political games to the Glass Centre because it's going to backfire. And I can't keep a Labour group on board trying to work to save something that you trying to just play a political score point scoring. Please stop it.
I can assure you, Mr Mayor, that there is no political point scoring in relation to this issue. No political point scoring at all. The bottom line is that the public of Sunderland and beyond are keen to save the National Glass Centre.
Point of order, Mr Mayor. Point of order.
This is a budget.
Yeah,
Councillor Gibson.
Can I?
Mel Spedding.
Well, thank you very much. It's 142915. If he has just finished his answer and he stood up, he has no right of reply. He's had his debate. He has no right of reply under the Constitution.
Right, we're going to be moving on. Councillor Edgeworth.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think if you're going to do a pork barrel amendment to the budget, you might as well do it properly. So despite most of this being a weak imitation of the official opposition budget, on the basis that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery that mediocrity can pay to greatness, we will support it. Thank you.
Councillor Hodson.
Yes, thank you, Mayor of Sunderland. I did just want to say a few words about a few points that have been raised in the Conservative budget. Firstly, on the subject of the Glass Centre. Now, I mean, you sort of had your answer, Michael, that if the rest of us just sit tight, Phil Tighe is going to sort everything out. He's been sorting it out this whole time, and we shouldn't stand in his way. But time is running out, Phil. It's not long till May. But on a serious point regarding this subject on the screen, item 4, the provision of a capital grant. Now, I have a bit of a problem with that because my colleagues and I met with David Bell at the university back in September, October, not for the first time, but on this continuing subject of the Glass Centre campaign. Now, the Glass Centre was transferred from public ownership from the council to the university in 2010. Now, I have a problem immediately that we should be paying the university to buy back property that we've handed over to them. My further problem on this subject is that the university told the council its plans over 3 years ago, and between then and September, there had been no discussion formally between the council and the university about transferring back that site or keeping it open. That's a problem for me, because I think that has been, from the outset, from speaking with David Bell, an option on the table that has never been properly taken up by this council. To my mind, I'll vote in favour of this amendment, but that site, that land, should be returned to the council as a public asset if the university has given up on it, which it clearly has. And that should be the position that this council is taking firmly with the university. That is public land, it is a public asset, it is a jewel in the crown of this city, and to let them do what they want with it is completely wrong. Now, one of the things that is very pleasing about the Conservative amendment and the Liberal Democrat amendment is the focus on Chester Road. It has come up again and again. And, you know, some colleagues opposite were criticising us, perhaps fairly, that it felt like something, pork barrel politics for our particular wards. And, you know, maybe there's a bit of that. We are here, those of us, you know, when you represent a ward, to stand up for the ward you represent in a public forum and make the case for it. But roads like Chester Road, Hilton Road, St Luke's Terrace have a bigger footprint than just the individual council wards. They are city centre hubs. You know, they're places that all of you, whether you represent them or not, drive through, shop in. They're places that people from out of town do business in and travel to. They have an unusually large influence on the area, and they have a really strong sense of people's perception of the city. It's when people drive down Durham Road, Newcastle Road, Hilton Road, and they look a mess, or they're badly kept, or they have issues with parking, that it reflects on the whole of Sunderland. And it does that in a way that, you know, I take your point about Riot, but these big city centre hub roads have an extraordinary, oversized impact on people's perception of the city. And that's why I do think they deserve to be in budget amendments like this, even if it seems parochial. It isn't. The final point I wanted to pick up on in this, this budget amendment was this slightly contentious issue of flags. Now, more flags, say I. But we should remember that today is County Durham Day, and if there's any appropriate flag to fly along the high streets of Sunderland, it would be the flag of our traditional ceremonial county, County Durham. We have long been the engine of County Durham, County Durham's connection to the wider world, the port city that makes that county what it is. You know, some random sort of bureaucratic, interjection by Edward Heath in 1972 is a complete nonsense. Like, why we would, acknowledge Tyne and Wear as a thing is ridiculous. This is a great opportunity, Michael. Let's not put up Union flags. Let's adorn the whole of Sunderland with the St Cuthbert's cross. You know, high street to high street, and re-acknowledge our commitment to this fine county. Thank you.
Councillor McDonough.
Yeah, don't get me started on Ted Heath. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I'm delighted to support this common sense budget amendment that we have brought today. We need to get back to basics, doing less but doing it better, rather than trying to do everything, overstretching the council and doing it badly as we're doing at the minute. The public want us to be sensible. They want us to do what a council should be doing. I'm absolutely thrilled, of course, that we have found the funding for a brand new play area for Middle Hurrington Park. Something that we've been campaigning for many, many years. I'm very excited about it. Our local children deserve a safe space to play, somewhere where they can have fun and feel safe in the community, something that is incredibly important. The current play area is tired, damaged, and quite frankly, at times dangerous, and our kids deserve better. These plans were backed by hundreds of local parents who have signed petitions and called for this for many years. It's something that's incredibly important to the entire community and very important to me personally. As someone who will be becoming a first-time parent in a few weeks' time. Due on election day, everyone, so that'll be fun. I must, of course, declare an interest, but the plans are fully costed and will make a huge difference. So I urge you, please, to back these very important plans. We can do something hugely positive here today, and I hope you all join us to make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Leonard.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to add a few comments on the amendment. Again, nothing for the coalfields or Washington, except for the roads, which isn't a gift or an allowance in the budget, it's a legal responsibility. And it's disappointing that after the division and the riots that we've seen and continue to see in our city, the community and belonging budget has been cut, but it's okay. We're spending money on flags, that's been added, and I think it particularly shows the direction of travel in their attitude to community cohesion. The opposition have accused us of wasteful spending, but I can offer some help with your spending proposals. The Broadway roundabout, the modelling clearly says that it doesn't work with lights, so if you spend that on that junction, it's a waste of money. The crossing points on Silksworth Lane are already no doubtedly going to be delivered by the development, so that's another saving. The school streets scheme that are in your budget there remain part of the highways existing budget, so the money there is saved. So the Tories, Anthony talked about cost reductions. I've just saved you over 1.5 million so far in the hour that I've been sitting here. So for me, the numbers don't add up, and unfortunately, it's a no for me. I won't be supporting the budget.
Councillor Modi, you have the right of reply.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. Well, that one wasn't as cross-party and consensual and a laugh as the first one, was it? Right, a few things from me. First of all, I think Councillor Ty's touched on it. Whoever reliably informed you from the discussions in the Labour group, Michael, is full of rubbish, because, as I say, David Newey did not vote against that because there wasn't even a vote in the Labour group. So whoever's giving the information is filling you full of rubbish. In terms of Councillor McDonough, first of all, congratulations. I hope the baby arrives safe and your wife and partner is well as well. In terms of the Middle Herrington Play Park, I am a little disappointed, though, because this would look good on a leaflet. But I would ask you to take a leaf out of Labour councillors' book, particularly the Southwick Ward councillors, who actually campaigned within their area committee and within the council and actually delivered a play park without having to come to council and put budget amendments. That's what Labour councillors do day in, day out. They work for their ward.
Just a point of personal explanation, if that's
Councillor
okay.
McDonough.
Mr Mayor. Yes, we have got some improvements through area budget, so something has happened, but it's a very big job. It needs more than area.
That's not really a point of clarification. Apologies. Leader, please continue.
Mr Mayor, I'll just say, please try harder, Dominic. In terms
Point of order, Mr Mayor. Just going back to the David Newey issue, Mr Mayor.
Mr Mayor.
Councillor Harnack, do you have a point of order, did you say?
Point of order, yeah.
Under what rule, if you don't mind me asking?
Point of clarification.
Under what rule?
Point of clarification in relation to...
What rule?
Right, he's allowed to make a point of clarification.
If he cites the rule, he is.
But what's it about?
So, point of clarification is, you're right, David Newey did not vote against. Can you confirm that he spoke against the National Glass Centre? Because that's the fact, isn't it? He spoke against the National Glass Centre.
Right. So if you have
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, what I was going to say, Councillor Newey's not here, so when he's here, if you want to write to him, if you want to ask Councillor David Newey, absolutely fine. Well, we can't expect the leader to answer that right now while he's mid-speech. Leader, please continue.
Thank you, Mr. I'm not going to explain the inner workings in the debate within the Labour group to a Tory councillor who shouldn't be privy to that information. But all I can say, Mr. Mayor, is that whoever's feeding you the information is feeding you wrong information. In terms of the social media and influencers, I find it quite ironic, Mr. Mayor, that Councillor Reid is criticising the use of social media influencers as he's trying to transform himself into a right-wing media influencer. He's like a Timu Darren Grimes, but failing spectacularly at it. But in terms of... And also, the other thing I want to mention on is the flights. And it's been mentioned a couple of times that officers are flying around the world on these flights. Yes, officers do take flights. But I'll just give you one example. Officers flew to Japan over the course of 18 months. And them flights and that work secured £50 million worth of investment into this city from JATCO, supporting 200 jobs. So to me, the cost of them flights is well worth it. It's about bringing investment into the city, and this is something this side of the chamber will constantly always do. Mr Mayor, in terms, I should have mentioned this in the Liberal Democrat amendment, the use by the Cabinet on the civic cars ended 18 months ago. If we want to use any transport, we book a pool car. So the factual amendments, both the Liberals and the Conservatives, is incorrect. But the main reason why I and the Labour Group will be opposing this amendment, Mr Mayor, is the reduction of £695,440 from the events budget. I checked with officers, and that is more than the entire events budget last year. And other Conservative Party really saying to the city they want to scrap the entire events budget. Do they want to scrap Remembrance Sunday? Do they want to scrap
Point of order.
Christmas celebrations?
Councillor
Because
Mullen.
cancelling that, is that what...
Point of clarification, Mr Mayor. We got the full costings from Paul Wilson and we left in all veteran-related events. Everything else has gone, but Remembrance Sunday and anything else relating to veterans is still in there.
Leader, please continue.
Simply, the facts don't add up, and the fact that deleting £695,440 will put at risk some of these, from Horton Feast to Remembrance to Christmas lights switch on. If that's what the Conservatives really want to propose, well, bring it on and bring the elections on in May. Yes, cancel Remembrance, but let's buy some flags instead. Mr Mayor, this, not to repeat what we said before, but this is...
Councillor Mullen.
Yes, thank you. Mr Mayor, given that Paul Wilson is in the room, he could maybe specify what the event budget breakdown is, and then Councillor Mordy will stop saying that we're cancelling Remembrance.
Councillor Mullen, you know, it's very rare that we let officers speak, apart from Elaine, who might help me note some names. So, no. Sorry, Leader, please continue.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. They should have specified that in the amendment to avoid any confusion. But at the end of the day, that is the full events. The money we spent on events last year was £625,445. They want to delete £695,440. There's a discrepancy there in my mind, Mr Mayor. But not to repeat everything that we did, we've debated a lot of what we said when we did the Liberal Democrat amendment, Mr Mayor. It's the wrong priorities for the wrong time. It is personal pet projects as opposed to this Labour Group's budget, which provides for services and investment in all parts of Sunderland, and I would ask the Labour Group to vote against the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leader. We will now vote on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So if the officer could ring the division bell, please, and open the vote. So this is a vote on the Conservative amendment to the budget proposals.
Insert your party in, you have to put your party in. That one and then.
So if we could close the vote now, please. There are 16 votes in favour and 37 against, so the amendment is defeated.
Does any other member have a comment or question on the original motion? If so, will they please indicate?
Mr Mayor, through you, we've received prior notice from councillors Edgeworth, Dixon and Hartnack. Councillor Mullen, Councillor MacDonough. So the speakers are councillors Edgeworth, Dixon, Hartnack, Mullen, MacDonough, and the leader has the right of reply.
Councillor Edgeworth.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Yeah, I'd just like to speak briefly on the main budget rather than our glorious amendment. And you'd be disappointed if I didn't say that this budget shows that Labour's austerity is alive and well in Starmer's Britain. The terrible financial settlement from the government and calling it a fair funding review really is a joke. Yes, the final settlement is slightly better than the dire original settlement, but a last-minute U-turn from the government, obviously better than nothing, but we can see from the report in front of us that there are exceptionally tough times ahead for this council. And the present Labour leadership may think that that's not their problem to deal with, but it's not good for residents going forward if cuts to services are inevitable in coming years because of mismanagement from this Labour Council and a lack of funding from this Labour government. Page 141 of the agenda pack reveals what we all know, that spending power at this council will only increase through expecting residents to pay more through their council tax at a time when they can't afford it. The same is true for local fire and police services, who are also being forced to hike their share of council tax bills as well, due to Labour. Section 4.7 of the report on that page states that in 2027-28 and 2028-29, quote, the amount of funding the council will receive from the government reduces in each of those years, end quote. So there we have it. Proof that Labour austerity is alive and well and being defended as a big win by the yes-man leader. This Labour government, as we all know, isn't delivering on their promises, one of which was to end austerity and to fix council financing. The council is going to get less money from the government going forward, and that's even before you factor in the huge demands for services like adult children's social care and homelessness, and of course the inflationary pressures due to Rachel Reeves's mismanagement of the UK economy. It's not just me and Paul Wilson saying this, or the report in front of us. The Local Government Association said after the final settlement that local government is at its financially weakest. And the Labour councillor, who is the leader of the LGA, is warning that growing cost and demand pressures will continue to push councils to the financial brink and that extra resources are needed to protect vital services. And she is right, isn't she? A one-year-only bung to Labour councils facing electoral oblivion in May doesn't fool us, and it doesn't fool the residents we were elected to represent. The Labour Cabinet's desperate attempt to bribe voters to back them in May through extra road repairs, youth services, events, welcome as they are, is doomed to fail. And after 50 years of Labour failure running Sunderland, it just won't cut it. There were also warnings in the LGA peer review recently that the council's too reliant on raiding reserves and avoiding difficult decisions on cutting spending. Those warnings continue to be ignored, and the Cabinet understandably probably feels that this will be someone else's problem after May, and I'm sure it will be. But our amendment shows that there are places where you can cut spending that would be popular with residents. Because of these reasons, we cannot support this budget amendment, which fails to axe enough wasteful spending, fails to see councillors sharing the burden of cuts, fails to invest in the services and facilities that our residents want to see, fails to plan for the future, and can only balance the books on the back of hard-working residents who will see their council tax bills hiked again. So we won't be supporting the budget. Thank you very much, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Dixon.
Thanks very much, Mr Mayor. And it's lovely to be able to speak this time. It was very late last time and it's very late this time, but we've got it in. The amount of information produced here and the amendments are a fitting tribute to the work of senior officers at the council. And I think it's an excellent example of impartial local government work for the officers that have been mentioned to give the advice they have done to 3 different political parties. And I know my group leader, Councillor Anthony Mullen, is especially appreciative of that. I'll oppose this budget based on the lack of investment in getting the basics right. Uplift for roads, not enough, no additional investment to clean the streets, nothing new on problem parking. And bearing in mind the council conducted a citywide survey asking residents for their views, this is rather surprising and disappointing. And I don't know whether Councillor Leonard can give an update on the partnership between Northumbria Police, Gateshead Council, etc., whether it's hidden in the small print, but you certainly didn't mention it in your speech. So through the council leader, I'd be grateful for that, because if it's not included, obviously we oppose the budget. And I'm slightly curious as to what Michael Mordy meant about an all-party get-together about the council tax. I don't know whether you're referring to us here or the national leadership, because this isn't an easy subject. There's been 3 attempts at the rating system since 1956, and there's not one political party that's been politically keen to change it. So maybe you could clarify what you meant by the parties getting together. And I would suggest politically, Michael, that you don't mention Easington, because you were talking about reform in a critical way, and in August of 2025, you were beaten by over 600 votes in Easington and Horden at a local election, and that was a constituency where Councillor Heron will remember, Emmanuel Shinwell and Jack Dormand had regular majorities over 30,000. So looking at page 33 at the resource available for new starts, additional investments, a very important sentence is included, and it says significant investments has been secured over the last 10 years from governments and regional funds to support major infrastructure priorities, such as Riverside Sunderland, the IAMP, Sunderland Strategic Corridor, the Port of Sunderland Enterprise Zone, and a range of housing and digital infrastructure projects. And Councillor Mullen has also listed for me, these are items that have happened long before Keir Starmer appeared on the scene. Culture House, family hubs, place boards, funding to support electric vehicle manufacture, HICSA Academy, Riverside Development enabled by future high street funds, and even the North East mayoralty was created by the last government. And this has been something that's bothered me for years with the Labour Council, the Labour leadership. I've lived here in Sunderland for way past 70 years and 10, and the city greatly matters to me. And I tend to place myself in the category of a resident rather than a councillor of a particular party. And that is why it's irritated me beyond measure that this Labour Council over the years has done a massive disservice to the people of this city by talking down Sunderland because there were Conservative governments in power. And I'm talking about capital projects here. It just seems to be something that's swept under the carpet when funding has appeared. Nothing has dramatically happened in the last year or two that wasn't happening 10 years ago. We're not in the year zero. These things have been happening in Sunderland over a long period of time. Homes England with housing, heritage projects happening in a Conservative government as well as a Labour government. Parts of Sunderland are unrecognisable since 2010, with massive private investment suggesting that the economy, especially in the later years, was in decent enough shape for private investors to plough millions into Sunderland. New businesses started, and ongoing excellent work by senior council officers took place with their professional handling of negotiations for funding. And yet, despite all this, the party political mantra never ceased, as a procession of gloomy Labour spokesmen were unable to cast aside historic aversion to anything positive that was not from a Labour government, and as such, as I've mentioned, was not worth talking about or best ignored. And even Councillor Modi, who I like individually, is a person...
Councillor Dixon, respectfully, you're over your 5 minutes. I'll let you finish.
Oh, I'll second that. I'll second.
I'll let you finish your point, but it's the exact.
Thank you.
It's the exact same as last time. There's a lot of speakers. I'll let you wrap up your point.
How long?
I'll let you finish your sentence.
Finish the point. Yeah. I'll forget about what I was going to say about you. The last point I would like to make, and this is very important, and Michael Modi might be able to mention this, it's about football, and I'd like the leader of the council to explain the allocation of the £7 million dividend payment as the council's partner ownership of Newcastle Airport. Councillor Mullen informs me it's £1 million for adult care, £1 million for children care, and £5 million ring fence to make an application to be part of the FIFA Women's World Cup in 2035. Is this correct, and could you explain the priorities? Thanks very much, Mr Mayor, very kind of you.
Thank you so much. Councillor Mullen.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I've just got 2 points to make. One is to say that I'm pleased to have informed Michael that his events budget has increased without him knowing it. I've just looked it up in the Culture Communities Tourism page, and it is higher than what he said. So I will just repeat the point that our budget amendment didn't cut anything relating to remembrance or to veterans, but it does beg the question why no member of the Labour group was sufficiently across this detail to protect him from himself. And I also want to return to a point that Alison Smith made earlier when she thanked the Labour group for their input. Paul Edgeworth is right in saying that there's a need to control spending across the council, and within the three groups we could easily, between us, just on the basis of what's been said tonight, have identified more than £6 million of savings had we discussed this in advance. Now, under Graham Miller, there used to be an established pre-budget consultation with opposition leaders. It was something that was brought in his later years, but it nonetheless did exist as part of the official consultation period, and this has been dropped, so no sharing of ideas has taken place. It's obviously too late now, but when those decisions have to happen in future about where cuts fall, it would be sensible if discussions were had in advance of the budget, because quite clearly when cuts do come, it will have to be in the areas that we've talked about, comfortable or not.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hartnack.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. This Labour budget is yet again an outrage and insult to the financially hard-pressed residents of Sunderland. I want to raise two specific matters worthy of observation and criticism of this tired Labour budget. First, a wasted opportunity for a significant inward investment opportunity to combat poverty. I think everybody will probably seen the BBC News this lunchtime and a potential scandal emerging in Southwark where political interference appears to have been undertaken to prevent Active Families North East from bringing a much-needed £500,000 investment to Southwark and blocked for reasons that are unknown. A local authority community centre, mismanaged for years, has been empty for over a year. It's this type of waste that the public are quite simply sick of, and Active Families North East have been hugely successful elsewhere in the city in reducing poverty and enhancing skills and ambition. I sincerely hope that no corrupted practices have gone on here to perhaps secure the building for a tenant linked to favouritism as opposed to merit, Mr Mayor. But I'll move on that the police precept is again up this year in the budget. And whilst the council might have little control over the precept, it does, however, have a responsibility to ensure that the quality of what is provided by way of policing in particular in the city is of high quality and that we're getting the resources that we actually deserve and are entitled to. Labour have ordinarily complained that police numbers were depleted by the Conservative government. And yes, I agree that numbers did reduce during the previous austerity years. But increases in policing numbers have steadily improved over the last 5 years. Yet quality of policing provision in Sunderland has clearly declined despite what has been said previously, with no representation being made by Labour councillors to challenge the Chief Constable and successive police and crime commissioners, the result being that until very recently, Sunderland was a mere subdivision of South Shields. We are, I believe, the only city in the country not to have a fully functional Police and Criminal Evidence Act compliant police station in our city centre. Our policing numbers are far less proportionately than other areas of Northumbria Police. Washington has been totally downgraded with no police station and instead having a shared facility with another emergency service. Starmer promised named community officers. It hasn't happened. And take my ward, Fulwell, and there is no regular community presence in the area, and during weekend evenings, all resources are drawn away from communities in order to police the city centre. This is despite a growth in the nighttime economy in areas such as Roker and Seaburn. Service provision is constantly a source of complaint from residents, and yet our lead politicians continue to do nothing to challenge the police for Sunderland's fair share of resource. I have offered on 2 occasions to support Kelly Checker to understand the system and how political influence plays a huge part in gaining policing resource, but I haven't even had the courtesy of a phone call or an email response. Anyway, I keep banging on about this at every issue, yet Labour simply fail to ensure that we get our fair share. The delivery of poor policing numbers in Sunderland is not necessarily the fault of the police or previous funding settlements. In Sunderland, it is possibly the fault of Labour for failing to stand up for its residents and the public. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hartnack. Councillor McDonough.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd just like to outline some concerns that I have around the fiscal health of the city at the moment, and some things that may have been missed in the budget if you didn't look closely. The next council, whoever leads it, will inherit a high debt, high tax council that has allowed costs to skyrocket and has put more pressure on residents through tax rises year on year. We have not got our own house in order, quite literally. Next year, City Hall will cost £4.7 million to run. That's up from £2.3 million in 2023 and £4.1 million last year. Nearly £5 million for this building. We warned you about this when you entered into the agreement with Legal & General that it was a bad deal for the city. The inflation rate on our payments in the original contract with Legal & General were agreed on a payment increase based on RPI, a deeply flawed way of tracking inflation which this government doesn't even use or truly recognise. RPI overstates the price increases and therefore sits around 1.2% higher than actual inflation figures. This means we're seeing above inflation price increases on our rent for this building, a bad deal for Sunderland. At a time when families across the city are cutting back on heating, food and essentials, this administration is presiding over soaring running costs in its own headquarters. Then we have Culture House, projected to cost £1.1 million a year to run. Councillors were previously reassured that running costs would be covered by outside funders. That reassurance has clearly not materialised. Instead, taxpayers are now going to be footing the bill. I believe that it has been badly managed and a realistic funding plan and business plan has not been produced. We all support culture, we all support regeneration, but regeneration must be sustainable. It cannot be built on optimistic assumptions and blank cheques. And then we come to the most alarming figure of all. Debt charges now stand at £40.2 million this year. That's up from £37.2 million last year. This is not a one-off spike, it's a trend. Debt is rising year on year. Interest payments are consuming more and more of the council's resources. Money that could otherwise go to frontline services, to social care, to road repairs, to neighbourhood services. Instead, it's being swallowed by borrowing costs. What we're creating is a high debt, high tax council, and the next council, whatever its political composition, will inherit that burden. We're locking future administrations and future residents into a financial straitjacket, and it's a ticking time bomb. Every pound spent servicing debt is a pound that cannot be spent helping vulnerable residents. Every increase in running costs at City Hall is another signal that this council's priorities are wrong. This budget asks residents to pay more while offering them less and more financial risk in the years ahead. Sunderland deserves ambition, yes, but it also deserves prudence, transparency and honesty about the long-term consequences of the decisions that we take today. Thank you.
Point of clarification, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Alison-Smith.
Thank you very much. I take exception to the high tax comments that you repeatedly making tonight, because you all know that this authority has the lowest council tax rate at our average bandee across the whole of the North East.
Thank you very much.
The figures show that is repeated this year.
Councillor Smith, you know that's not a point of personal clarification, but thank
well,
you for your
was.
contribution. Deputy Leader, do you wish to speak? Councillor Checker, do you wish to speak? Because you have the right if you wish to do so.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I made my points when I presented my budget, but thank you for the offer.
Thank you very much. Councillor Michael Modi, you have the right of reply.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. Just a few points from me to conclude this evening's debate. In terms of the overall picture, it is a 6.6% increase in core spending power. You were never going to turn 15 years of austerity around overnight, but as I said in my speech, this government needs to grip an issue that previous governments, both Tory, Lib Dem coalition, Tory before that, Labour before that, the council tax system that funds a large proportion of council services is not fit for purpose. This government have carried on the previous government's over-reliance on council tax in the system. And to answer Councillor Dixon's point directly, when I says all parties, I meant in this chamber, I meant across the country in the Local Government Association. We need to come together as a local government sector to campaign for this, again, for this government to grip this problem once and for all. Because when we're seeing rises in adult social care, we're seeing rises in special educational needs, we're seeing rises in homelessness provision, it's absolutely crippling not just this council, but other councils. You're seeing the rise in exceptional financial support that's been given to councils, and it's unfair on places like Sunderland, who have a low council tax base to start with, that we are unable to raise as much revenue as other more affluent areas across the country, that we are effectively asking our residents to pay more. It is the system that we've got. I would like to see it change, but we have to live within the means that we've got until we campaign for change. So that's my commitment from this side of the chamber, is that we will play our full part. Jonathan Brash, the MP for Hartlepool, has set up a all-party parliamentary group on council tax reform. He's initiated some of them discussions. I was at a recent meeting of the APPG in Westminster when the Chief Financial Secretary to the Treasury was there. Being very careful to effectively not give too much away, but I believe it is something the government are seriously considering picking up, and we stand ready to play our part in them discussions, because it's the local government system needs reform, council tax needs reform. We need to remove the ridiculous situation of automatic 2% increases on adult social care. I look forward to the Casey Commission reporting in due course, and I hope to God that they bring forward some meaningful reforms, and that them reforms can get cross-party support. Because I've said in this chamber before, adult social care has been used as a political weapon by the Labour Party in the past, by the Conservative Party in the past. We need to put them arguments to one side, get a system that works for everyone, that is fair, that's balanced, but that doesn't put too much of a burden on the local council taxpayer. In terms of Councillor Mullen's point, in terms of discussions around the budget, I've said it repeatedly, my door is always open. If you want to talk about, I've said it at the last budget meeting, do not wait to come to budget meetings when you've got suggestions for inclusion. I'm more than happy to meet you. We've had a couple of decent discussions in recent days around how we can work more closely together. As I say, my door is always open. I'm more than happy to meet you with Paul and with Patrick, and let's try and get some of these boxed off. Councillor Hartnack, where do you begin, honestly? Party political nonsense. The fact is, Northumberland Police, we still have fewer officers today in the force than we did in 2010. Austerity ripped the heart out of our force. We were the force in the country that lost the most in money and most in terms of frontline police officers. And then to claim in 18 months the new Labour government should have reversed them cuts within 18 months is fanciful. Yes, the Labour Party have got a commitment to put 13,000 extra officers on the beat. We have received our first complement of those officers. It takes a while to train a police officer. But to say that we do not get our fair share of resources in the city in terms of policing is fantasy. We, as a city, we are a safe city. Crime rates are dropping by all measures of official statistics. We are being held up across the force as a way of, we have been rolling out our new hubs, a new partnership model. It's having a significant impact in driving down ESB and other associated crimes in the areas where it operates. We put £1 million extra in this budget to expand that model to more areas. But yes, we have crime in the city, but we are dealing with that head on. I regularly have meetings with the Police and Crime Commissioner. We have members on the Police and Crime panel who regularly raise these issues at that panel meeting, and we will never shy away from fighting our corner. But we have come up with an innovative model that is addressing crime and antisocial behaviour in our city. I'm proud of that model, and we will continue to roll it out. In terms of Councillor McDonough's points, I like Dominic, but you talk on the city down a little bit there, Dominic. Debt, in my eyes, is the price we pay for investment in the city. You can see it as purely a line on a balance sheet. Yes, we had to borrow. We borrowed significant sums when the interest rates were low, but unfortunately, them interest rates have spiked through the roof thanks to Liz Truss's disastrous mini-budget that is making investment in the city more difficult. But the building that we're standing in here today, City Hall, enabled the deal that we did as a council. Again, it was before my time, but it was a good deal. I stand by that deal. It enabled us to build Maker and Faber behind us now. It's spurred on the regeneration across Riverside, Sunderland. This Labour group takes seriously our responsibility to manage the finances of this council and the city. You can look at independent reports from audit, from the Local Government Association. We are a well-run, well-financed council, and long may that continue under a Labour government. Mr Mayor, I'll leave it there. We have had a good, robust, fair and healthy debate. I want to thank all members on both sides of the chamber for contributing and participating in this debate on this budget. I'll just end by saying one thing, Mr Mayor. Difficult decisions have had to be made, but the budget this Labour group has put forward to the city today is a prudent, balanced position that balances our position to keep the council in a safe, secure financial position, but addresses the priorities that the residents of the city tell us are their top priorities, from investment in youth services, from investment in stronger communities, from investment in events. This is a balanced, prudent position, and I commend the budget to council. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Mr Mayor, may I just ask for your guidance, point of clarification, please? I did ask two specific questions, which included Newcastle Airport and the Northumberland Police Partnership. Is it up to Councillor Morley whether he answers those questions, or is he duty bound to actually...
He's not bound, but Councillor Morley, would you be happy
to write to Councillor Dixon with the answers?
Is that acceptable to you, Councillor Dixon? The leader said he would write to you. Okay, he'll pop you his address. I mean, email might be better, Councillor Dixon. Might be a bit faster, but however's preferable to yourself. Thank you, Leader. Now that brings us to the vote on the original motion before the council, which must be a recorded vote.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So if the vote could be opened, please, and if the officer could ring the division bell, please. If the vote could be closed now, please. There are 37 votes in favour and 16 against. Therefore, the original recommendations from Cabinet on the budget have been carried.
I declare the motion carried. Councillors, just a friendly reminder to take your rubbish with you when we leave the chamber. That concludes the meeting. Thank you.